Thank you, thank you.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:31, or it's still to order, we'll call it. We're at executive session, review agenda for additional removal or adjustment of any items per 1 BSA 312D3A. Valerie, you got anything to add or?
Just to clarify that we do have 3 sets of minutes, finally. The August 12th, September 9th, and September 23 minutes. And also very late in this afternoon, I forwarded to the select board some recommended language for item 8 on the agenda, which is the water line connection application.
So you said August 12th?
August 12th, September 9th, and September 23.
9/93 and 9/23. Okay.
We want to do book.
Yeah.
Where do we throw in
Right now.
the results of our? Do
Right
we
now.
have to add that, or do we just?
Yeah, we're gonna
We don't have to add it because we came out of executive.
we're gonna add the results of our executive session under 1A. Okay, Valerie? What we just discussed in executive session.
She's nodding yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. We were in executive session for half an hour, as I just said before, and we have our motion, we're gonna have a motion in a second.
I make a motion to hire the candidate that we interviewed in executive session as our resource officer for the town of Bristol.
Community resource specialist.
Community resource specialist. Okay.
Specialist, yes.
Michelle, did I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, is a second?
And the reason you're not getting the name is because she hasn't notified her employer that
He or she
is
is not looking for it. Yes. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ian?
Sorry, aye.
Aye. Opposed? Staying? Okay, passes. Okay, overview of Zoom meeting operations. God, after 4 years, we're all hats at this. Procedures, rules of participation, mute your microphone if you're zooming in, be recognized by the chair. And if you're zooming in and you're only on an iPad and it's got your first name, please give your full name because for our minute taker. Okay, public forum, 5 minutes per person that's not on the agenda to speak about another item on the agenda. Anybody got anything? Oh, regular business. Consider closing the west end of Briggs Hill Road to at least for the winter, if not permanently. DPW Foreman Eric Coda, 15 minutes discussion.
Joey, did you want to do department head roundtable? Use that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Chris. Department roundtable, yes. Let's start with you, Chris, and Sharon.
Sure. From the treasurer side, a couple updates. So as most people saw in their tax bills, we started doing direct debit options for folks to pay their taxes. We've had over a dozen people sign up for it, a couple businesses. We also added a handful of options to pay with credit card online. Zoning fees, police fees, clerk fees, there's a handful of them. And we actually had somebody pay their parking ticket online. So new things this last couple weeks have actually rolled out and they worked.
You're so surprised.
But it's only online, you can't pay with debit or credit in the
In
office.
office, yeah. So,
Okay.
That'll be coming down the road.
Nothing wrong with an old fashioned check.
and hopefully this week we'll do reconcile the books in-house for the first time in almost
2 years.
So that's gonna hopefully happen Wednesday, so.
Good work.
Good.
Good work. Sharon, I know you're looking for something in November, around 5th of November, somewhere around there, a little something.
Yes, we do have the general election coming up. Hopefully everybody gets their ballot, but I know there are some people that didn't because the post office will not forward them, so they're coming back here. So if anybody didn't receive their ballot, they need to call me and let me know, see if I got it back here. If it doesn't show up, then you'll have to sign an affidavit. Please make sure to bring your ballots in if you want to vote in person. And we also have 2 ballots for local elections, which are now available. So if anybody wants any, they need to call and request them. They don't automatically get mailed to everybody, or you can actually come in on November 5th and vote on it as well. So.
Sharon, you said have them bring their ballots in with them that they get. Do they vote on those ballots if they
Yes,
come
they
in?
do.
You're not gonna
If
give
you
them.
don't bring them in, then they're gonna have to sign an affidavit that they
Okay.
haven't already voted.
Okay, and you're also going to have the, not only just the elections ballots you got mailed to you, but we're gonna have a ballot here for the bond vote.
Two different ballots, one for URD and one for the bond vote,
Yes,
the water bond vote.
water bond vote.
And I expect that the water bills will go out by the end of the week for the September reading.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? That's it.
No.
Okay, thank you. Brett, you're up. We haven't heard from you for a while.
Good evening, everybody. Just a couple of things. First, thank you for your support. Yesterday, the fire department conducted their annual coin drop there on West Street. It was a successful day. We got a little wet at the end of the day, but actually, I think that was to our benefit. I think there was a lot of sympathetic people. A reminder to all, anybody listening, next Saturday, I don't know what that date is,
October 19th.
the annual food drive. This food drive that benefits the 5 town fire departments. Their fire stations on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 will be collecting food for the 5 town food shelf. So it's your opportunity to help out neighbors, as there are many in need, especially this time of year as we approach the holiday season and cold weather. I'd also just like to say the Conex box training structure that was authorized a year ago, the construction of that is ongoing. If you've been over there recently, you've seen the boxes. The exterior is not complete, as we still plan to add our roof prop, but we probably won't see that until the springtime. But I can tell you there's a few individuals who have done a tremendous amount of work on the inside of that building, given up many weekends to get that work done. So a big shout out to all of them. I know personally, last week's training, we got to utilize the exterior by having a location to throw our ladders. So it's great to have a place to throw a fire service ladder and not worry about actually damaging what you're throwing it against. So, but other than that, no, business as usual. So pending any questions from you all, that's all I have.
Heard your interview with the radio this morning. They said it's the 17th year of the food drive.
Oh yeah, thanks, Speaker. Yeah, so past Chief Mark Bouvier and myself were invited down to 92.1 in Middlebury. We did a few minutes on the air with them just to promote the upcoming food drive. And yes, it is the 17th year of this food drive. So it's again, I can't emphasize the importance of this event enough. So please, y'all come, bring something by. There actually is a collection box outside the back of the fire station right now. So those who would like to drop something off, please feel free to do so. We're checking that and emptying it on a daily basis. Thank you.
Only a few minutes, so you didn't speak. Mark must have done all the talking.
No, he talked.
I'm just kidding, Mark. Okay, thanks. Bruce, you're up.
Business as usual. I'll save my time for the next meeting because this one's a long one, so I'll go like 10 minutes on the next one. No, I just want to say thank you for the support for the community resource position, and I look forward to that.
Thank you. Eric?
He's up next.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I know.
let's see, we got just finishing up summer stuff, getting on to the fall, getting ready for winter. Tires gotta be changed, plow fronts put on, finished drawing sand, salt. Got a little bit of mowing left to do. Lincoln Road will be paved. If everything goes right, they were in Ferrisburg this week, and if they got that done, they're supposed to be to us this week.
Do you have
So
a date yet?
Lincoln Road will be paved this week, if everything went right.
Do you know the date yet?
No, Alex, the foreman, is supposed to call me the day or so ahead of time to give me time so I can get the road prepped. We just gotta shape it back up with the grader. It's getting potholes in it now and everything, so we just gotta shape it back up.
You might as well wait till it stops raining on Wednesday or Thursday or
Oh,
whatever it is.
yeah.
I don't think we wanted to get as bad as Briggs Hill Road did before.
Oh, no, that was horrendous.
Eric,
Okay.
you were going to mention the sidewalk situation and look.
Oh,
for-
yeah, good. There's a resident on North Street that would like to lower their sidewalk. It's a steep incline from the road up into their driveway. So they have one low car, I guess, that rubs a little bit going across the sidewalk. And then, so I told them that I would mention it to the board and see how you guys feel about it before actually putting it on as an agenda item or not. Like I told them, if there's no support at the board is, for the board to do it or the town to do it, then there was something that would have to be on his own and then he could pursue it from that point on.
You still have to get permission though.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you
well,
still have to get working the right of way permit and all that stuff.
I would say that, you know, if it's an existing driveway and they bought the house that way and we haven't had an issue there before, that if they've got a car issue, then it's gonna be their responsibility to meet our specs with the sidewalk and lower it at their dime.
But if you lower it, my guess is that you're gonna have an incline on either side of that.
Yeah.
You're only gonna be able to lower it there for, a little bit because of ADA. And there's two driveways that are kind of close together, so you can't go into the next driveway unless you go all the way across both,
And that one's paved, right?
and that one's paved.
I was also thinking about the snow plow, the sidewalk plow.
Right, so,
Water runoff.
I mean, my guess is the most that they'd be able to lower it would be probably 6 inches to be ADA compliant on the other driveway side, so it won't
south side.
interfere.
So they're coming in from North Street this way
Yeah, they're
and the
turning-
sidewalk comes up here, so it flattens out. So when they get to this part, that's where they're.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
so
they're-
it's inclined, then your sidewalk, and then their driveway.
But so when they brought the problem to you, were they saying it was due to anything that the town had done, like paving the road or changing the sidewalk, or they just got a car that's slower?
Yeah, they bought the
Yeah.
place like that, the way it was. It's been like that for, 30 years.
Yeah.
And the people that had it before, it was the same driveway. So the driveway part itself has not changed.
Okay.
Eric, you mentioned that it's actually water coming from a neighboring property that's washing the
Yes.
gravel out.
Right, and that's what, yeah, so it's coming, the water's coming from the neighbor. I told them put a berm along between the neighbor, them two, put it right on the line, put a berm on to keep the water on the neighbor's side of the road, and then it wouldn't come across onto theirs and down the sidewalk and wash his driveway out. She needs to take care of her water.
It-
So I mentioned a couple.
So is that
several
is that
different things.
really the problem is the water's washing out the gravel, so then it makes it even steeper?
Yep, so, yeah.
So
right
it's
on
not
the
really
edge.
a sidewalk issue.
Well, it is in one aspect, and then the other aspect is the washing part.
Give
So they
me
took care of
all
it
the facts so I can make an
So,
evaluation.
They took care, they raised between the edge of the road and the outside edge of the sidewalk, they raised that apron, so to speak, of the driveway.
Yeah.
Didn't wash out with gravel. That may cure most of the problem.
Might not. Depends on how low the car is,
It
right?
depends on what they put in for material.
Mhm.
If they, like I
If you
suggested,
don't put anything in, it doesn't cure the problem.
right, I
Put in
suggested
material.
digging it out, 3-4 inches down. And put in some really good stuff that packs. And, top of sidewalk to the road. And then pack it right in. And that would probably last for quite a while. Probably won't be
If their
permanent fix.
if their driveway is lower than the neighbor's driveway, and the water's coming down the neighbor's driveway and then coming down the sidewalk, then not gonna alleviate that problem.
No. It's gonna
Because the
have to-
sidewalk, even if they lower the sidewalk, they're still gonna get the water.
Water.
Right.
Mhm.
But either way, it sounds like the residents' issue, not anything that the town has done. Okay.
It's not due to something we've changed.
Done, right, exactly.
Oh, I met with him and I told him I would bring it to you guys and then I would let him know what you guys felt about it and then, let him proceed from that point on.
I would say that personally, I think we're okay with them lowering the driveway, provided you give them the specs to make sure everything is in compliance.
Right, yeah, because if they lower, they'd have to meet ADA on both ends and all that. So, okay,
On their
Good to
dime.
me.
On their dime.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, because it's not
Right,
something we
it's not
did. It's
something
not
we
like,
did, right.
it's not like we lowered the road
Or
and,
repaved
or-
or, yeah,
Yeah,
Or
we'll
high-
put the sidewalk.
Put the sidewalk in.
Yeah.
Okay, that there. Did we get to your regular?
yeah, other than, yeah, pretty much, I can talk about the other stuff on the next agenda.
Okay. Okay, regular business. 6, consider closing the west.
Actually, we
end.
have one more. AZ is with us.
Oh, so I'm sorry, AZ, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. I haven't been able to make it to these meetings, but I figured I'd stop by and just give a little update on how things are going. Permits are pretty busy throughout the summer, along with just like adjusting to the new role and finding my groove. But things are slowing down as cold weather comes, not many people wanting to get out and build. The development review board has been pretty busy since I started. But that's hoping to wrap up a couple big ticket items. Joel had his subdivision approved our last meeting, so that was exciting. And I'm looking forward to working more with the planning commission on some housing topics, finding best ways to move forward for Bristol. Other than that, business as usual. I hope your meeting isn't too long tonight.
We always hope that too, but.
It never happens.
Okay. Is,
Who's on for the hub?
who's on for the hub, or is it Meredith on?
No, sorry, it's me.
Okay, Taylor, go ahead.
We're doing roundtable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, So, the hub, we've been slammed. We've been seeing between 30, like 35 kids to 50 kids a day, which has been pretty staggering. And it's been going really well. And with that sort of number, it also means that we've been kind of bumping in some different ways that we're, growing pains. And learning to navigate and trying to support youth and create a safe space for everyone and, mitigate difficult behaviors while like taking a restorative approach. So trying to allow them the opportunity to like, rebuild things when it goes wrong. And we're, excited for some fall outings that we have coming up. We just completed a successful chill program where the Chill Foundation came and 3 days over a course of 3 weeks of skateboarding lessons at the skate park. And then on the skateboard topic, the proposals for the RFP is out at the end of this week, I believe, if I have the date right. So we're going to be expecting some proposals from some design companies around what the cost of a design for the skate park will be. Yeah, that's my updates.
Is that it? You all set? You're breaking up a little bit. Are you all set?
I'm all set.
Okay,
Thank you.
alrighty. I think that covers everybody.
Brett has his hand raised.
Brett has his hand up.
Who does
Brett
Brett?
has
Brett.
Brett.
Thank you.
Brett,
I was
Brett.
just curious, why the increase? Why do you think there's that increase at the hub?
I think it's several years of success of improving the perception, just kind of trying to get the word out a lot. I've been going into the schools a few times a year, a handful of times a year to try to get the word out. And then also different coaches over at the high school have been recommending that kids come over before practices to hang out and get food. And then kids bring their friends over when they come. So I think just the multi-tiered approach of like getting the words out and it becoming a more welcoming place, which is we've had a lot of success. Yeah, people just stopping in. Yeah, so I think just all the work that we've been doing for the last few years is finally like we're seeing the numbers just like kind of stagger up.
That's great. Nice work to you and the staff. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, regular business. Consider closing the west end of Briggs Hill Road at least for the winter, if not permanently. Department of Public Works, Foreman Eric Coda. Valerie or Eric, you wanna lead this? As everybody knows, Briggs Hill has had a major slide. And it's down to one way with a traffic light, I believe still. It worked well when we had to close Lincoln Road. Sorry, Lincoln. Residents of Lincoln had traveled up over. But we got the Lincoln Road back open. It's dirt right now, but it will be paved, as Eric said earlier, hopefully by the end of the week. We got that fixed. So we're talking about Briggs Hill tonight.
And as I noted in my report that that the solar powered traffic lights are not getting recharged by the sunlight like they're supposed to because of shade and where the sun is trajectorying over trees and things. And so the units need to be recharged with a diesel generator, which is not sustainable. And if I remember correctly, it costs about $5,000 a month to run them. So those two factors, and plus it's going to need to be closed anyway for the winter because it can't be safely plowed. That's why we're proposing that it be closed at the end of the month.
Okay, Eric, anything more you wanna add?
No, that's pretty much it.
How narrow was it getting? When we all went on our road trip.
The top slide is, the pavement's caved off probably another foot, so nothing drastic. But it's just,
And there's two slides, it's not just one.
well,
It's two.
there's, yeah,
There's
two
two
that
sections.
joined, and
Right.
then there's one below
Right.
that
There's two
keeps
sections.
sifting. So yeah, so with the generators not getting sunlight, and we have to, like, this morning, I went and checked roads, and the bottom one's beeping, so I'll put the generator back on it. That's gotta stay on 24 hours straight in order to charge the batteries back up, and then once they charge back up, you get a week to 10 days out of them, and then you gotta do it again. The other generator on the top, which is a 24-volt system, it takes 2 days, 48 hours straight charging to put them all up to full. So you get about the same amount of time. Now you get about 2 weeks on the top one. So we're constantly, not constantly, but a lot more often putting the generator on to charging them back up again.
And if they die, then
And
we
if
have a
they-
problem.
Yeah, if they die, then there's no traffic
Right.
or no lights. But-
There's no control.
But yeah,
Mhm.
and it's not gonna be safe to plow this winter. I'm not gonna send any of my guys up here to plow it at all. So, we'll come in from the other end and we'll plow from, I'm proposing, since we're closing Briggs Hill, I'm proposing that we're gonna plow from Lincoln Road all the way over through. So we'll plow Atkins Road and Briggs Hill, go down, turn around, come back, and then plow back.
So if we're gonna close it, where did you put the barriers? At
So
what
the
point?
first barrier would be right down at Lincoln and Briggs intersection.
Right,
Put
yeah,
two Jersey
figured that
barriers
one.
up there, and the second barrier will be down just, well, a little bit below the light, the top light. We need a place to turn around.
And there's a
that's
place
flat.
there, there's a place there to turn around.
We'll have to add a little bit of gravel,
Mhm.
on the ditch sides to.
What
to
about
make it.
school bus?
School bus will have to go the other way.
Will they be able to turn around there, go down, well, somewhere, they'll be able to turn around somebody's driveway or something or other?
I think their last pickup is.
Made,
Top of the
there's
hill.
no pickups on Briggs Hill. I talked to Betcha. I called, Dee,
about
which is the
Lossman's kids?
dispatcher, and she said there's no pickups on Briggs Hill.
No
She just,
pickups from Atkins Road to where we're gonna turn around.
I asked her about Briggs Hill specifically, so I don't know anything about Atkins Road.
Well,
Doesn't-
Atkins Road isn't a problem, but I mean from, well, they would be,
So the bus that's up
Lincoln,
there
Lincoln
now
would be part of that.
at Parker's,
Mhm.
all she uses, she just goes up and down the road and parks the bus. There's no,
And we're
according to Betcha, there's no kids that get on Briggs Hill.
Huh, what about the Lossman kids?
So the question may be is, for where she parks the bus.
They're on Deerly, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
they're,
if
They
they're gonna
could-
get into there, that's an easy turnaround.
I mean, if there is, they can back into
I mean, they've been doing that forever.
Deerly
so I-
and turn around there with no
Okay.
problem, but
Right.
like I said, the dispatch told me there wasn't any kids up there
okay.
to get picked up, so. Taking it for what she told me.
Mhm.
Okay.
So one of the other items I mentioned in my report was looking ahead to after the winter, what happens then? And I don't think we have enough information tonight or enough time tonight to really explore the options if there are any alternatives to Briggs Hill. But perhaps if we could plan on scheduling a broader community discussion, perhaps during the winter or early spring or sometime after we've gotten a little bit more information to see what the options are, if there are any. And if there aren't, then we just need to come up with I guess, just either deal with it or some other kind of plan. One of my concerns specifically is emergency management and response.
Emergency response management, like up on Briggs Hill?
Yeah, if there's an incident up near the Briggs Hill side of things, you know, how will that affect emergency response? Having to go all the way through Lincoln to get over there.
I guess it's no different than if you have one up at, what's the road way up off of the Notch that you have to get to, you know?
I mean, it will take more time.
Right.
Yeah, maybe it's just something that everybody just adapts to over time, but I just don't want to do this without full thought.
Maybe we could also see, I know that Patricia's on for the town of Lincoln.
And there's several people. from
Mary,
Lincoln around.
yeah, so maybe we could also get some feedback for how people think it
Right.
might affect them.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So open it
Any
up.
more discussion? I'll open it up
what are
now.
your guys' thought? Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we're agreeing
Oh,
with.
I imagine
Eric.
with the fire chief, at least for Bristol.
Yeah, I know, I just want to get these guys' thoughts first.
You know, Brett and the fire chief in Lincoln will probably have at least for the winter, when we permanently, if we close it for the winter, which looks like we're going to, because we're not gonna plow it, they'll have an agreement worked out.
Mhm.
I imagine I'm not gonna speak
It's rescue. as
rescue
well.
too, yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, there's a seat here.
There's some more chairs over here if you want to pull one.
So,
up.
any other discussion from the board before I open it up to the public? Any thoughts, Ian? Your
Ian?
thoughts?
I think given the safety concerns that Eric has highlighted, I think it makes the most sense to close it, at least for the winter.
I agree, at least for the winter. I'm not sure I want the word, if not permanently yet. I'm not there yet to make a decision on that.
Well, we need to find an alternative
Correct,
to the $2.4 million to
That's
fix
right.
it.
correct.
Mhm. Okay.
We got a person behind you, Joel.
Mhm,
I
yeah,
will move it. So the board, Michelle, you got any more?
No.
Jessica, you got more?
no,
No, I'd like to hear from other people.
listen to what
Okay.
other people have to
Yeah.
say.
Anybody wants from Zoom or, yeah, go ahead.
Yep, Will Sipsey, down in Lincoln, I've been driving Briggs Hill for 40 years. So I've got a bunch of concerns. One is that the power for Lincoln, South Lincoln, Starksboro, Huntington, Hanksville, all goes up Briggs Hill Road. So if Briggs Hill Road is closed, how is Green Mountain Power gonna respond to the problems? So just think about that one. Okay, so the next one is, have you reached out to regional planning yet? Because when I talked to the last regional planning emergency director, and his opinion was that the town of Bristol should be looking at abandoning River Road and widening, and seriously widening Briggs Hill.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna lose River Road again before you lose Briggs Hill Road. I guarantee it. That
So-
section of River Road's gonna go.
So
The
your,
river wants it, the river's gonna take it.
your
Well,
three-phase
the River
ballot,
Road's gonna go again, and that's why you need Briggs Hill Road.
That's
Not-
why you need Briggs Hill Road.
Not to be the
Exactly.
main road, but to be the emergency backup. Like 3 times since we've lived here, you couldn't go up River Road.
Just
as
to
far
be
as the
clear, when
power
people
goes-
are
Hold on,
referring to
hold on.
River Road they're talking about Lincoln Road in Britain.
Yeah,
It's
Lincoln,
River Road
yes.
in Lincoln.
We call it the Lincoln Road. You guys
Right,
call
we
it-
call it river, yeah. So, but I mean, you can, so my, just to qualify, my mother was a geologist and her specialty was alluvial morphologies, which means the shapes that are caused by rivers. And I can tell you, just looking at that river, that section's gonna go again. You know, and I think what, you know, what you got up there is a dugway road, right? So you just gotta do the right of way work and dig that dugway further into the hill and try to stabilize the bank. But I mean, like this is, I don't think this is, and also I'm a former select board member, as you know. I don't think this is a decision that solely rests with the select board in the town of Bristol. I believe you need to get consent from the town of Lincoln to close the road. I believe that's state statute.
No, because Lincoln Road is your main artery, not Briggs Hill.
Yeah, I don't think we have to get permission, but that doesn't mean we're not, that doesn't mean we're not gonna ask.
Any road that crosses the town boundary, you have to get permission.
The section we're closing doesn't cross.
Right, but the road, that denies access to the people using the road in Lincoln. I mean, you're basically closing Briggs Hill. You're telling us we can't use your road anymore, and your road crosses into Lincoln. I mean, Briggs Hill Road crosses into Lincoln, right? So I will not be able to drive down Briggs Hill Road and use it anymore.
We weren't able to use 116 for a year while the bridge was out either.
Right,
So,
no,
I mean,
I know it's an emergency, but I'm just talking long term.
Right.
Right, so long term, you can't just say, hey, guys, we don't like that road anymore, we're gonna close it, because it runs into Lincoln, so you need permission from Lincoln to close it.
So.
And also, this is a regional thing, somebody ought to be reaching out to regional planning.
I'm gonna ask the question, so if Lincoln says that we can't close the road, is Lincoln gonna shell some money out to help pay for it? To repair it?
Probably not, but I think, what should be happening is, you know, like, where's our reps, where's our, you know, I mean, this is something that should be being discussed in Montpelier.
Yeah.
Right, somebody should be, where's our global warming solution to, I mean, there's some global warming that's happening right up there on Briggs Hill. Where's the solution to that?
Right.
Where's the money from Montpelier? Where's the help? Where's the V-Trans help? Where's the bank stabilization? Where is it?
Well, we're doing estimates now, engineering work, that we spent thousands of dollars in engineering so far, to the tune of $60,000 to $100,000, I think, somewhere in that ballpark.
Over $125,000 out of pocket so far on engineering to date. We are working with FEMA to qualify for mitigation funding, and then we'll only get the FEMA funding if we do the repair that's proposed by the engineers, or come up with an alternative alignment, meaning relocate them. They'll pay for that too, if we come up with a plan.
Yeah, but they won't pay for the lights.
No, they won't pay for the lights.
Yeah.
There was another question.
Lori Atkins, 37 Atkins Road. The house that sits right on the corner, that was very much impacted by the detour. I am not in agreement with Will as a Lincoln resident of 21 years. My husband's been there even longer. The undertaking that went on for what was repaired is incredible. Are we gonna lose the road? Yes. You can see it, everybody can see it.
Which one
it's terrible.
we're talking about?
Briggs Hill. You know, when Briggs Hill comes down, you know, Eric's gonna be, he's gonna have his hands full. And this is a really, really unfortunate situation. And I totally agree that should be closed. And at the top of that road, I think that should be for only residents that live up there, you know, Blue Shepherd, the other place. And then our road, Lincoln, the Atkins Road that comes off River Road, there are 7 residents that do not need to go down there. Now that we have the Lincoln Road open, we can go left or right. This needs to be fixed. We can't fight about if the road's closed or not. This needs to be fixed. It's an emergency. And you guys can only do what you can do.
Hopefully it won't be for the winter months, until we can get the thing. So.
I mean, go through there today and it's pretty bad.
Pretty sketchy.
It's pretty scary.
It is pretty scary.
May I just add one thing? I'm not suggesting you guys
Hold on,
don't,
Will,
I just want to say
hold
that.
on, Will, hold on.
Okay.
I'm just gonna ask anybody else want to speak before you ask again.
There's other people
also
online.
I had other questions, but they're inconsequential to what's happening now, so
Okay.
So.
Well, ask him if you want answers.
I just want to, just one quick sentence. I'm not saying you shouldn't close the road this winter. I'm saying long-term, we need to sit down and try to figure that out. Yeah, close it this winter, but long-term, yeah.
Okay. Who was on?
Patricia.
Patricia?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for including us in this discussion, Valerie. We appreciate you guys keeping the communication lines open and totally agree with you about the winter maintenance of Briggs Hill and closing that down for the winter. Don't want to see anybody have to go through trying to maintain that. And Eric, I appreciate the offer of plowing from Atkins up as well. I will let Will know what your intent is for the winter.
Yeah, Patricia, have Will give me a call.
I will do that.
Yeah, cause then maybe we can come up with if we gotta go up through. Yeah, just have him give me a call. We'll see if we can figure out a plow sequence for it.
Yes, I will do that. And, you know, once again, just when it comes to the future discussions, I mean, we're gonna try different avenues to see if there's any way that we can help out in the situation, knowing that it's your guys' property, not ours. Even though we have a tremendous interest in keeping that area open because of the possibility of Lincoln Road being closed and no good way for emergency services to get in and out of our town. So that was all. I just appreciate you guys including us now, and hopefully we'll be able to come to some kind of a resolution in the future as well.
Okay.
I'd like to say your concerns about the power comes up over the bank from 116 beyond where we're gonna be closing the road. So Green Mountain will still have access to the power on that end, just so that nobody gets really concerned that if something happens with the power, they're not gonna have power. They will be able to access it because it comes up over Ladou's, beyond where we're closing the road.
I just thought it's ironic that Green Mountain Power struggled for so long to get the poles out into the road. And now the poles are out on the road. We're talking about closing the road. You know, it's just.
Yeah, well, they come up over and come onto the road above where we're closing it. Just so, you know, it is a concern, but they do have access to them. It's not like if we close the road, they're not gonna be able to access lines if something happens, because the power doesn't come through that section.
They actually go in Ladou's driveway.
Yeah.
To go across our road, our lawn. And that is so dangerous right there. Atkins Road and Briggs Hill right there. I mean, that's my concern about.
Atkins, Perrington intersection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called Perrington Road.
No.
Colby Hill.
Colby Hill.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it
very
changes its
dangerous.
name, keeps changing.
Is it Briggs Hill all the way to that intersection?
No, it's Atkins, so it turns
That's
into
a town line, it
Atkins,
turns
then
out.
Atkins veers off to the left, then Colby goes up. And I believe Colby runs into Isham Hollow, but I think if you look at a town map, that's actually one town highway, then Colby turns to the left. This is because Monique Anderson turns to the left and it's called Colby Hill, and that's town highway 13.
Muted, but you want to be seen.
So it's Atkins Road all the way down to the town line?
I got some on Zoom.
Atkins Road down to the town line, where it goes up, it turns into Colby Hill, and then where Monique Anderson's place turns into Isham Hollow.
Okay.
Then Carrington.
Did I see Ed Clark on, or Paul on?
Paul's got his hand up, Mary's got her hand up.
Paul will go with you, then Mary, then Ed. Paul, go ahead.
Paul Forlenza. I was on the Lincoln Select Board for about 10 years. My suggestion is, if you're going to apply for a grant, which you probably have to do if you're going to fix that road, which I encourage you to do, you ought to think about going jointly with Lincoln. And I think that will give you a lot more clout in terms of increasing the possibility of getting the grant. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mary? Mary, you're up.
Muted.
Mary, you're muted. Go ahead. Okay.
I'm curious, what is the number one reason that Briggs Hill will be closed? Is it because the generators are too costly to run? to keep the light going? Because, with our warming winters, plowing is becoming less and less of a, there's not as much snow as there used to be. Anyway, so I'm just wondering, is plowing really difficult on that one lane, or is that why Briggs Hill is going to be closed, or is it because the generators are too costly to run a traffic light?
It's a safety issue with the
Right.
road missing out into the travel portion of the lane
And you got
and winter weather.
and you got one lane to plow, and I've been up that road with plow riding. And I plowed a lot of snow, and you got one shot at it in that four-wheel drive. You miss a gear or something, and you start sliding backwards, or miss a gear and spin the wheels, you're done. And sliding down to a single wide road, we don't need to buy you any down over the bank. I think closing it for the winter is I agree with Eric 100%. Any more questions on that, Mary? All about Valerie.
I don't think the question, so it's because the plow would have to contend with a red light at one end or either end. And so they couldn't stop like we've all been stopping, for a couple months, and waiting 3 minutes.
That's not, the issue is when you break the top of the hill where the wash is and you got the half the lane gone, if one of my guys spins out, truck kicks sideways, they're going over the bank and they're gonna end up down the Lincoln Road, and I'm not gonna put any of my guys through that safety problem.
The other thing is that we're also seeing more ice. We're seeing less snow, but a lot more ice.
More ice.
Yes, and sometimes that's a lot more challenging than the snow.
Yeah. Ed, you were speaking. Mary, sorry, Ed, hold on, Ed. Mary, are you all set? Are you not satisfied with that answer, probably, but did we try to answer that question before I move on?
The answer is not because of the lights. It's a safety concern for us.
Okay. That answers the question. Thank you.
Okay. Ed?
You're muted, Ed, just so you know.
Myself. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I live at the end of Colby Hill, and I have no problem whatsoever with you closing it for the winter. In fact, I can't believe you'd even think about trying to plow that thing. But long term, the river road's going to wash out again. And when it does, 3 times since I've been here, the only way to get into Lincoln was up Briggs Hill. And it's a long way around. So that's an issue. And the second issue is what's left of Briggs Hill is going to end up in River Road if it doesn't get stabilized. Like those concrete blocks are going down that hill. The ones at the top and those concrete blocks at the bottom aren't going to stop it. So you're going to have to do something to that bank just to protect River Road in the long term.
Yeah.
Come on,
So-
Ed, when we had that flood in what?
98?
1988?
98.
98? I had to drive through Moncton to get to my property off of 116.
Well, that's because the covered up by Colby Hill washed out. But
in
more
98,
times
Bristol
than
was
not, you can still get to Lincoln on Briggs Hill.
Could get to it without going through
Hold
Moncton.
on. We got
So
to the
whatever.
question of the.
I don't care. I mean, in terms of my day-to-day life, I don't care if it's closed. I can turn left on Atkins Road. It's not that much farther. But I do think that for the town of Lincoln and safety, it's a potential issue. So that's, and you're not going to decide tonight. So I'm just weighing in on that. And I do think that whole bank's going down into the river across the road.
Okay.
If you do.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? Anybody else here? To the question though of the river, and I remember when Tim Dalton from Madison County Regional Planning proposed that. And I said, Tim, that would never happen. And I said, you're right. River Road's gonna wash out again, Lincoln Road. We've been up there many times, this whole board walked it, almost gone down in the river. And if you go down in there in the summer months when it's really shallow, you can see there's a ledge in the bottom of that river, just like this, that runs to the edge of the road.
Wow.
if the environmental board, A&R, would let us blast in that river and push that river away from that edge of that road, we wouldn't have this problem. But there's a fishing tool we might hurt, so we can't remove the riverbed, and put it, get a belly in that river. It slants just like that, and here's the bank. And it does. Take a good hard look at it someday when you're driving down through, get out of your car and look, and you see it. And that's a problem, but, will we probably go back up the river road again in all of our lifetime? Probably will.
Yeah.
In a different section that we didn't repair now.
Yeah, that's.
They pinned it this time and we're hoping that, but it could be in another section.
At what point, where are you gonna close it to where?
Briggs
Hill? Yeah.
Briggs Hill, the bottom to just above Ladou's, just before Ladou's, so
So
you have to go to Ladou's.
Just below the top light.
The top light.
And then right at the intersection of Lincoln Road.
So they can turn around.
When are you gonna do that, Eric? What do we thinking the plan is?
End of the month.
End of this month?
By the end
By
of the
November.
month.
Okay.
If the road's still there, it's going fast.
So,
Well, that's too bad. So everybody's gonna take a left on Lincoln Road. Coming off Atkins Road, sorry.
Yes, and go over, the people who live on top of Briggs Hill are gonna go over.
sorry.
Not just them, but yeah.
People who go to Colby or go out that way. go up
Yeah,
Colby
it's what
Hill.
it is. It's
Yeah,
gotta be
go Colby
fixed.
Hill. Yeah. So, any other questions? Mary, you got your hand up again? Is that-
No,
is that an
no,
old-
her hand's not up. That's
Okay,
just-
sorry. Alrighty.
Question.
That's Michelle's one forever.
Tricia, you got a
Let's go
question?
again.
Yep.
I mean, just from Lincoln. Do we have a date as to when exactly we're gonna close, or you guys are gonna close Briggs Hill?
By November 1st,
By
The
November?
latest,
Okay.
the latest.
the latest.
Happy
Question
Halloween.
behind you. You got a
Stop.
question behind you.
Joe.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just, is there, I mean, the $5,000 a month for the generators for the lights is a lot. Is there any way we can pay more attention to or reinforce Atkins Road if we're gonna maybe have more traffic on it over the winter?
So,
I mean, we can't widen it or any of that, but I mean, is there, can we do something for the increased travel on the road?
Such as what? I mean, what do you think?
Oh, I don't,
Presence? You mean police
no, just in terms of
more maintenance?
Keep the maintenance up, just, you know.
Well, I know Eric's out.
Well, I
him
mean,
and his crew are out
I don't have any
there.
answers, I'm just throwing it out there, I know that we're
Yeah, road
already
foreman's
strapped
here,
for
yeah.
time and resources already, but.
I plan on plowing it when we're out, just like, instead of me going up Briggs Hill, I would go around Lincoln Road and get on the Atkins Road and plow that way.
Right, so it's a longer route to plow Briggs Road all the way to that.
It'll be on the route. It won't be like.
It'll be
once a day, no.
right, it'll be a normal route, so, in the mornings, we should be on that road by probably,
4 o'clock.
no.
Come on, you dropped your plow right in front of my house. at 4 o'clock.
It'll be probably 4:30, 4 to 5 when we get on that road. And then it'll be every 3 hours.
And we
approximately
expect you
after
all
that.
out there with coffee for Eric.
Right,
Coffee and donuts.
I appreciate you. I really do, honestly, I do.
Remember that when we plowed drip by your driveway?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for a call for a vote or a call for a motion? Not hearing any?
I think
Wait.
David Weaver, did you want to say something?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I just hope that the Atkins people don't have to suffer the way we did on Briggs. That was poorly planned. The transition of that road was awful. Should have been an embarrassment for the town of Bristol.
Okay, thank you, David. We'll take that under advisement. Now we learn, you gotta learn from these things too. I agree. It happened pretty fast. Especially.
There was actually quite a lot of planning, I should say.
Just not for the safety and the well-being of the people on Briggs Hill, I'll tell you. There was zip for that.
That's not true. That is just not true.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
But also with compounded, it was closing the river road, Lincoln River Road for 30 days. That didn't help at all. Yeah. Melissa, you got a question? Missy?
Yeah, I do. Sorry, I'm on Briggs Hill. I'm right on the town line between Bristol and Lincoln. What I'm concerned about is this winter, even if Briggs Hill is closed, people were driving like madmen down Atkins and Colby Hill, speeding, driving right down the middle of the road. It was really, really unsafe. And I'd like to hear about what, I don't know, maybe that's Lincoln's problem, not Bristol's problem, but somebody has got to keep an eye on that. Thank you.
I thought Bruce said that they did some increase.
Yeah, Bruce did some enforcement up there.
Enforcement, yeah.
It didn't, I mean, honestly, coming up the hill, and Eric, you've seen it, they catch air coming up by our house. They have no respect for us. Just what David just said is very true. It was nothing shy of dangerous.
You live in the corner of.
I live right on the corner.
Corner of Lincoln Road and Atkinson.
That White House.
That's not the result of lack of planning. And also Bristol did try to put the traffic lights at the end of the street, and we were asked to take them down. And the Bristol Police Department tried to put the speed card up there, but they had difficulty with that. And they increased the patrol of the area. They can't be there for 24 hours a day. Some people have to take responsibility for themselves. There's only so much the town can do. But it was not for lack of planning or lack of consideration.
Good planning
We
attitude
didn't
right
say it was
there.
lack of planning. We're just saying the impact.
Right, no, I don't.
No, I know,
really
but
don't-
David Weaver is saying it's lack of planning, and he's accusing the town.
Okay,
Anyway,
all right.
I don't think you're gonna get the volume or the speeding this time, because you're not gonna have.
All the
everybody.
traffic.
All you're gonna have is just from,
Local traffic.
right,
So if you all would like to view my security camera, it is 24/7. That road is used. Nighttime between 1 AM and 5 AM.
even with the road open,
Even with the road open.
really, wow.
Even with Lincoln, you mean even with Lincoln Road open?
I wouldn't even think that.
Yeah, but that
Well,
one, but
Atkins
that,
Road or down Lincoln?
Going up over Atkins Road. So what are you gonna do with all those people? We're gonna still have them.
yeah, but that's not, that wouldn't be any different, whether it's open or closed.
Our security, it's never nobody on the road.
But that's what I'm saying is like, it's not because we've closed the road that you're having that
No,
that
this is gonna
traffic that's there
increase it,
anyway.
though. This is gonna increase it, I think.
By
Because people are
closing
gonna come
the-
down and come down over our road or come up our road and go up around that way. That's why if it could be like, residents only. I don't know.
They shouldn't be, because Lincoln Road's gonna be open, so you shouldn't get everybody that's trying to go down Lincoln Road. That,
Go over.
that did turn onto your road when it was closed, they're still gonna be able to go down Lincoln Road. So hopefully, you're only gonna get the normal ones that normally did that route, would be my guess.
Now, at the end of the day, speed is all about law enforcement.
We don't have.
We could post it at 5 miles an hour, residents only, and if there's nobody to enforce it, the signs are for naught. So what it means is if it's the Lincoln side, Lincoln needs to be out there with law enforcement, whether it's hiring sheriff, whatever they want to do. You can put all the signage you want, Bristol would have the same boat if on the Briggs Hill side of the lower half of Lincoln Road. That's our responsibility. This is a law issue.
Do you guys do?
We have
Lincoln
no
doesn't
law.
have no, I don't hire the sheriff anymore either.
No,
Yeah, I know you used to.
There's a constable who gets $3,000 a year.
no.
Okay.
Not for lack of trying.
No.
Have you requested state police
Yeah.
spend presence?
No, never
You
seen
don't
it.
get it?
I think a man passed away on Atkins Road today, and I heard that it was really hard getting up through there. They actually tried to go up that road.
We had a separately warned item last time meeting got voted down.
I did.
Like, yeah, do
I
you
bring
want
it up
police?
every
Yeah.
select board meeting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Be a lot of criminals up there. As you well know, you see them driving, you see how we drive, I mean, Lincolnites, that wasn't people from Bristol that was driving past Dave's house there. Those are all people from Lincoln, criminals. Lot of scoff laws.
Okay, all right.
Did you drive
Joel?
that way? I just.
Joel, we have another question online.
I'm retired.
From
Yeah.
Vern.
Ian, you got a question? Yeah. Or you may.
There's Vern has a question.
Yeah, go ahead. Vern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lincoln,
Hold
I
on.
live right at the top of all of this mess at the intersection of Quaker and Isham Hollow. And a couple of very brief questions. One statement. I'm supportive for all the reasons that have been mentioned by everybody that closing the road, although it's not ideal, makes sense for this winter. Do you have any idea when the road might be reopened? And I'll leave it at that.
Currently, no, would be the answer to that question.
don't have-
That's an honest answer. Currently, we have no idea when it'll be reopened.
I
Because we haven't even discussed repair options beyond what our engineers presented us with.
It made us choke.
The desirability of reopening, I think, is strong on both sides. I spend as much money as I can in Bristol and not on Amazon as a Lincolnite, and I'm very supportive of our joint communities. I think it would be, for all the reasons mentioned and a handful more, I think it would be great to try to figure out how to keep that second option open, whether it's power, emergency, the River Road or the Lincoln Road, washing out whatever. I think trying to work together, perhaps with help from both communities working together on this. I think that was a good point made by somebody. Would be desirable. I'd prefer to keep it open, but not just for me, for the greater good.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think
If I could follow up on that, as I noted earlier, that one of the goals is to plan to have a broader community discussion on this, either later in the winter or perhaps in the spring, after we have more information and have had an opportunity to explore what possible options might exist. One option might be to find a new location for the road, a new alignment. I'm not familiar with the terrain on the Lincoln side of things. I know that it's pretty challenging on the Bristol side of things. We did explore one option and that didn't go very well. But there might be others that I'm not aware of that other people might know about. So I'm suggesting that we continue this conversation later in the winter or in the spring at some point, and try to bring as much information to the table as we can. And hopefully before then, we'll find some time to get together, Bristol and Lincoln folks, and sit around a table and maybe some maps or whatever, and just brainstorm before needing to make any decisions.
Okay.
There was also, for folks' information, we worked together with Lincoln for an intersection study, a scoping study report in 2021, and that's available on the town website. One of the alternates in that report was redesigning the road and essentially making River Road, Lincoln Road, and Briggs Hill sort of together and moving it much farther to the east, I guess it would be, or maybe it's west, sorry. East, thank you. So that might be, if people are interested in that, that can be found on the town website, just for information for our next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was an expensive endeavor too.
Yes, that was.
That would probably be more than $2 million.
Yeah, that was like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay, what's your thoughts, people?
I'll make the motion that we close the Briggs Hill for the one, for
No later than November 1st.
no later than November 1st for at least the winter.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Stayed? Okay, ayes have it. Okay, thank you all for coming. Thank you for your discussion. Thank you all from Zoom, and please stay. You can.
And we'll let you know when we have our next
November
1st info meeting.
By
The
November
latest.
1st.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Keep us informed with that traffic on active.
Oh, yeah, I can give you a.
Okay, all right, thank you. Number 2, consider whether to purchase a 1-year lease for a weather station on Upper Notch Road to help the Public Works Department evaluate weather conditions there. Eric, you brought this up, a general question last time on department head a couple meetings ago. I guess you've reviewed more, so you want to fill us in?
Yeah, so basically I wanted to try one to see how it works. Put it up on the Upper Notch. it gives me, rain, road temperature, air temperature, wind speed, wind direction. It has a little forecast, like if it's gonna start raining or start snowing or is snowing. And it's also got a camera on it that's heated, so the lens doesn't get frosted up. I wanted to
You can
try.
see in the camera whether it's not.
Right, I can check the weather conditions. I wanted to try it just to see if it would help not having to go out all the time, like, like tonight, there's, Jimmy said it was starting to snow up there a little bit tonight when he came down, so that's what here with that thing, I could just look in the camera and say, oh, the road's good. I don't have to drive all the way up there. Just save going out all the time, and I could check it from the shop as well during the day, because a lot of times you see the clouds going through, across the mountains. You don't know if it's fog or if it's actually doing something. And I could just check that, and instead of sending a guy out to check roads, and the road happened to be fine, and I just not wasted, but just burned up 20 gallons of fuel.
Well, I think it's money well spent. Though I don't know what the cost is, but $3 grand
for a year.
For a year lease. I think it'll save on your time. And gas.
Well, how does it get mounted, Eric? I mean, is it a camera? Is it like a, a security camera type thing? Or
Yeah,
gotta
it's
take a picture
similar to
video?
that. The unit itself it's solar, and so it's probably something like this, like that, and it just mounts on a pole.
Like a telephone pole or?
No, just a regular.
I'm
sign
worried
post.
about vandalism.
That's why, I mean, eventually, if that all works right, and I'm here long enough, I'm gonna try to get 5 out of you guys. But, for different spots. Anyways, so yeah, you mount it on a post, you gotta be, no more than 12 feet away from the road to have the laser hit the center. And that gives you your road temperature. And then it's, anything goes wrong with it, you call the company, they send you a whole new unit, and you send that unit back.
What happens if somebody runs into it, like and
Well,
breaks it? I'm sure they're not gonna send you a new one.
I'll just say.
Are they on camera? Are they on camera?
You don't think they have video, huh?
Yeah, Jimmy said we could put it on his lawn there, down by this fence there, by his driveway.
I mean, that was my only real concern is.
No, it'll be off enough so plow won't hit it.
And if a car hits it, there should be video of
That's what I
what
was
it
saying. Well,
was.
that's
so.
the thing, it does tape video? I mean,
Yeah,
I know you
it
have a live
records
feed.
for, well, if you do the subscription, which we'll end up doing, I think it's, I'd have to check with her again to make sure, but it's either 6 months or a year, the recordings. Just like the cameras I have at the shop, they record up to a year on the cloud. And then after the year's gone, they're, then it starts over again.
It sounds like a good investment.
It does.
Something to try.
Just try one. If it doesn't work out, we're not out. We just don't renew the lease and send the thing back. So. just-
Okay. Ian, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I got some thoughts. Hang on one sec. Let me get my notes. So it's a cell service. What's the cell service at that location? Is there actual cell service there since it's so poor in Bristol? I don't know if Jimmy can tell us.
It goes off satellite.
Looking at the documentation, it said it was cellular connection, but I don't know if that's a tower then, or maybe it's cellular to satellite, but we might want to just check that.
Yeah, okay, I can do that.
Just in case, just because we have such poor cell service anyway, I hate to like have you put it in and then it doesn't connect because we got nothing up there.
Right, that's a good
Do
point.
we know what budget this is coming from? Is it coming from the DPW budget?
Yes.
Okay. Who would have access to it? Looks like it's a website interface. You can access that on your phone or maybe at a computer station at the DPW or at home,
Yes.
perhaps?
It'd be basically on my phone.
Okay.
Where I'll have the connection for it.
Okay. Would other members of your crew also be able to access it? Or do they need to?
Probably one other one be able to access it just in case I happen to be sick or whatever, and
Or the person who plows that route.
yeah.
Or is that your route? That's your
Well,
route? It's your route anyway.
It's my route anyways for now. I got one of my guys that wants to try it this year.
Okay.
Okay.
So I
All right,
told
great.
him, oh, go ahead, Ian.
No, that's fine. That was all my questions. That was great. Thanks, guys.
Okay. So yeah, one of my guys wants to try it and I told him I'd wait until the ground freezes and then I'll show him. That way he's got one less thing he's gotta worry about trying to keep track of.
Carrying his plow.
Carrying a plow, yeah, exactly, so.
Okay. Okay, what's your pleasure, people?
I'll make the motion.
So we make-
Second.
Make a motion, Michelle, then?
Mhm.
Okay, Michelle makes a motion, Jessica seconds. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, okay, Eric?
So the only concern is you've got to make sure
Sure, we
that
got cell
you've
or
got
satellite.
I'll,
service.
yeah, I'll email her tomorrow and, verify what it runs off from. And then, and see.
There is a 50-foot section right from my driveway to get cell service. And I have satellite dish, so I should be able to get something.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Consider approval of access permit application 2024-04 DA for Stan Livingston Devon Lane per the DPW's foreman's recommendations. It's a driveway cut, it's a driveway cut, this is.
It's the driveway and a working the right away permit.
Okay.
Which property is this? I was trying to
It's in
figure out.
between, Jerry's and.
Jerry's
Right next to
and
90 Devon.
Yeah,
Where
in
Greg
between
lived.
Jerry's and where Greg lived.
Greg used
Greg
to
used
live.
to live, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I was looking at the map going, okay, I'm trying to orient myself.
And the map's upside down.
Well, I mean, I knew it was, so I'm like.
It's normally here, and look at the survey map, it shows Devon here like it should be south of it.
Yeah.
So the north and south are upside down on that map, I know.
Well, when I put Devon Lane in Google, just so I could get in the right area, it brought me up by Pine Tree Gardens. I was like, I know that's not Devon Lane.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, I
Yeah, Jerry,
there's a
yeah.
letter and there's a photograph of that. So I'm Jerry Slegg, I'm 90 Devonal, I'm to the west of this piece of property. Janet Chill is on Zoom, who's my lovely bride property. And so I did a letter, so I make sure I say what I have to say, and I don't want to make mistakes and stuff. So I'm gonna read it. So I want to make it perfectly clear that we are not at all against a house being built next to us. We have a concern about the flooding we get in early spring. One year, the water was so high, it came right up to a few inches of the road. That's what the photograph is. It's kind of clear, but it was dark. And the water went under our driveway to the other side of the property, almost to Rennie's place next to us. One year, we noticed brown foam floating on the surface of the water because some of the septic tank water must have leaked out and went into it. We used to keep the little rubber duckies and boats on it. And last May, we came and talked to Chris Burley, and he remembered kayaking him on it when he was a kid. So it's been an ongoing thing for years and years, because he's old. We know Stan Livingston is a responsible builder. The apartments on Plank Road are beautiful. And we've talked with Stan on a few occasions about our concerns of the flooding, and he assures us that when he is done, there will be none. We certainly hope this will happen. But the question is, what if it gets worse? We could get more flooding and it might cause more damage to our property. Because with the driveway and a house and all that stuff, where's the water gonna go? Because it's taking up space. We just wanna know what our rights are if this happens from the town. That we don't wanna wait till it's too late and then we just say, oops, we goofed. And the other question is on Article 3, Section 2, they said a culvert may be added at a later date at all expense. Why later? Is that a concern about the flooding, or if it's something that, that was the only two concerns we had.
Yeah, so on the culvert at the later date part. I was going on Stan's assumption that he was gonna make it so that there wouldn't be any more flooding than
Right,
normally occurs.
Yeah.
But if it did end up being an issue, then that's why I put that in there, because then we can say, all right, this isn't working, you need to put a culvert in.
But there'd still be, they would just go on both places.
It would, yeah, so it basically would allow the water to go through and not hold it there like it normally does now.
Right.
But there's no ditch right there. Like
There's
if you
not.
put a culvert in Where's it gonna
It is
go over
just
the water
people
to?
decide-
It's just
people
still
decide
gonna
it
sit
out.
there,
Right.
but this driveway and the house is gonna take up that much more space from where the water has, so it's less
It's
ground things that absorb the water.
To absorb the water.
That's the problem,
You're
with
correct.
this much, and I know there's ways of digging down and putting gravel or something. Cause right now you can see by the photograph, that's right up to the edge of the road. You know, and some of it's not bad, but that's one of the extremes. It's the,
No, it's very easy to tell.
yeah, well, you can't look at it, I didn't know if you,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah,
dark,
no.
I try to get better.
The darker the water.
The dark
Yeah.
water and the edge of.
No,
right,
I've been
it's
down
kinda
there when it's
reddish,
been like that.
is the top of the grass right next to the road.
Mhm.
See on the right, with a little bit of snow, right? Yeah.
Right here.
That's the snow, this is the grass. This is the grass, and that's the roads right there. You can
Yeah.
see
The
that
road's
if
out
it
of
came
here.
up a little more, it's so. That's one of the highest ones. I'm not trying to say that's what the least one, but that's all I'm concerned with. What happens when all that land gets filled in with a basement?
Yeah,
or a
cause
slab?
his intent is to fill that
Low spot here.
low spot on his property,
Yeah.
which means it pushes the water to yours.
Yes, and that would make that much even higher with plant. We already lost one.
Where does that water go?
It eventually just absorbed when everything unfreezes.
There's no culvert anywhere for that water to
The
cross.
only
the road?
culvert is Rich's driveway culvert that goes.
And
that's
Greg's
it.
driveway, he has a driveway, well, not Greg's, Jeremy's and Patty's.
Oh,
Where Greg
right.
used to live, there was a
Right.
culvert on
Culvert
his,
and that.
on the
But where
corner.
does it
But
go?
below Richards.
It
there's
doesn't go
nothing.
north,
It
it
just
doesn't
goes,
go
it
west.
just
it goes
drains
north.
down in.
It just heads out and then it just kind of fizzles out.
It's those three pieces of property, there's no way for all that water to go.
You can't, yeah, you can't send it across the road because you're gonna send it on somebody else's front lawn.
Yeah.
Where does the water come from? Is it up from
Down the
on
hill.
off the hill?
All
It all
up down
comes
the
from
hill.
off the hill.
Yeah,
Snow-
and you don't
snow
see it, I
melt
mean, it's
and
not
all
like it's
that.
flowing,
Yeah.
it's coming up
I
from
guess-
under the ground.
I have a question for you, Eric. He fills this in, let's say 6 inches to a
Yeah, that
foot.
little tree.
All that water is gonna be pushed into the road.
Yeah.
Or
Down on us.
down the,
It's a good
gonna try to go to North Street, but
Good
it's gotta go
possibility.
uphill. Water
Good
don't go uphill
possibility.
very well.
I didn't realize it flooded that bad.
That's an extreme, I mean, that's one of the, you know,
One of the
when we
worst
were there,
ones, yeah.
one of the worst ones, I mean, but it has gotten, like this one went through our culvert all the way to the edge of our property. To where Rennie's new place is.
Mhm.
Yep.
A lot of times it'll just go to the pine tree, but it's big, you know, it's a lot of water.
It's like
and
a
that's
pond.
one
Once he
thing.
fills that, there's not gonna be a place for that water.
Well, there
No,
will be.
like
It's
I
gonna be
said, I
on
didn't-
Jerry's property.
I didn't realize it was, that extreme, but,
Right,
not
I
all
mean,
the
Chris, you
time,
agree,
but-
right? You've seen it really like
It
that, I
has
mean,
been, I mean, there's been times where it's been, like Jerry said, basically just shy of their house.
yeah.
So I don't know if we wanna revisit that then and maybe we should come up with something different, cause like you said, it's gonna just push it out in the road. Even if we put a culvert there, it's still, Jerry's just saying, you're taking away the ground suction for the water. Once you put a driveway in, you put the house in, that's just that much area that can't be absorbing water.
Either that or maybe Stan's house is gonna be full of water in his basement.
That's a
No, cause
possibility.
he's up the hill.
It's up the hill.
The only other thing, and I don't even know how that would work, and they're not a good solution, but maybe we could have Stan put in a dry well.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, one of the ones that we put on
Right.
Liberty Street.
Liberty
Pine
Street,
Street.
Pine Street and
So
Liberty.
that
That's for you
displaced
guys.
water would be able to go down then.
It would be able to go down into there and it would leach out through the stone into
a
the
lot
ground itself.
faster, Right.
Yeah, I mean, Stan said the way he was gonna do it was gonna solve it, but, you know,
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, and
Like you
that's,
said, there's no place for the water to
right,
go.
and that's why I put that covenant
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
so that way we. If we
But
need
if
to.
you go
But
by.
there's
and
still
look-
nowhere for the water to go, even if
No.
you put a culvert in.
No,
No.
it would be ended
I
up
put a
being the
driveway
same
here,
way
it's
as
just
like
gonna
is what it is now,
Water
and
inside
just
Yeah.
equal itself out.
Right.
And maybe, like I said, maybe part of it is he has to install, one of them dry wells,
Yeah,
Right.
at least that's a start.
Especially if it's gonna push it out into the road and then
Yeah.
you can get
yeah,
more
that's-
road repair.
that's- Because if it goes that way, now it has all that room, when you fill in for the driveway in the house, it's got,
Well,
it
the water's
lost
gonna
all that
cross-
space.
It's gonna
So
cross-
If the water
it's gonna
comes,
do
it's
this
gonna
more
cross
often.
the road.
Go across the road into the next barn, go across
That's
into
not gonna go
Lou's barn.
west, because it's gotta go up slightly hill right.
Right, there's a slight hill before you go down.
To the
Down
house.
North
it'll end
Street.
up being
Mhm.
one of their places and stuff.
Oh, who's across the road from you there?
Daringer?
There,
Dearborn,
Dearborn, it'd be end up being in
Daringer
there.
and Dearborn.
And then Chris's and Beth's over there next to them.
So you wanna hold off on this, Eric?
Well, I mean, the other condition you can do is put in that they have to put in the thing, but I put in the dry well. But if that doesn't work, then what?
I don't,
I mean, ultimately, I think it's, they can't make it worse for the neighbors.
right, but
But
can you
in-
stop somebody from building?
No, I
You know what
mean, you can't really stop them from building. I mean, their permit
You don't
that
wanna
is in,
stop them from building
well, I
a
know
house.
that. I mean, their permit is in compliance with whatever rules or regs we have.
Right,
We're trying to prevent,
future.
well, or problems for the town as well. I mean, I know that, we had this issue in another town, and it's really a civil matter. Once that's in and that creates a problem, then it's between the two homeowners, and you hopefully want to try and prevent that.
Michelle,
I mean,
I'll
but
ask
you
you,
can't.
Well, plus if the water went on the road, you have sheets of ice.
Well, right, and
It wouldn't be
that's
just
what I
us,
said.
it'd be people coming down there.
We don't want to make it worse for us either.
Right.
You know,
Michelle, could this be handled in a DRB permit?
He wouldn't be required to be in a dirt permit,
No,
no.
it's just
By right use, so.
It's a by right
Right,
use, stamp it and leave.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, his building permit, that was all in compliance,
Brett had
so.
a, Brett had a
Brett
question
asked,
on the.
Brett asked if the select board can require the contractor to have this issue engineered. Thank you, Brett.
It's a good question.
I don't know, can we require them?
I mean, it seems like there's enough evidence being presented that there is a problem there. I've witnessed it myself, walking and biking down that road after heavy rains. I mean, it's quite a swimming pool right in that area. And as Peter said, that water has to go somewhere. And so this seems like an opportunity to address that now, as opposed to further on down the line.
But it's 3 pieces of property.
Or
It's Jerry, Stan's, and whoever bought Greg's house.
yeah, I forget the last name.
Well,
Janet, do you know?
that water's gotta go west.
It's Patty and Jeremy, but Janet, do you know their last names? I
don't think it's
It's
not
okay,
important.
it's okay.
really.
Yeah.
Well,
Need to know
it's
what
currently 3 pieces of property, but
He's not,
this one parcel may make it worse. I mean, right now it's being handled
Right.
naturally, but if you put this in there, then it's gonna make that situation worse.
Right.
So it's not like the people on either side have created the problem.
Right.
The problem's there, we just don't wanna make it worse.
Mhm.
And then it become a town problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems like we could have a conversation with the developer about putting in a dry well or other solutions. The other option would be to ask for engineering. I don't know what the cost of that would be, though. Like, is that an undue burden, or is that reasonable?
I mean,
I'll tell you, it's an undue burden.
that water's gotta go west. You're not gonna take it uphill,
Mhm.
back towards
well, yeah,
Mountain Street.
or
Can I-
crosses
I'm just
the road and
interested,
it goes
Isn't it the
north.
responsibility of the town with zoning to make sure that nothing like this would happen? I mean, we see it's an obvious problem. Even though you got all the permit in the house, and if it wasn't for water, it'd be fine, but you can't let them do something without making the effort to try and solve it. Because otherwise we know it's been going on since Chris has been a little kid.
And
No, I mean, unfortunately,
That's
zoning
right.
wouldn't know it. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily know
Right,
about this
but I mean,
problem when
now,
they're
yeah.
issuing a
this doesn't
permit.
come in front of the BRB, so there's no, just a stamp approved. And there's no culvert at Jerry's and no
Yeah,
culvert.
there's a culvert under our driveway.
And there's a
one-
culvert
one-
in Butler's old
And it
place.
went
Is there one at
great.
Rainey's?
No,
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 Rainey's
nothing
like-
uphill.
and it never went past that. You know, that's, he
And
doesn't,
that water, before Devon Lane was put in, that water all went north.
Right.
see, because his land is flat with the road. Rennie's land is flat.
Oh, I
so-
picked, we used to gather cows up there at 4 in the morning when I milked for rock.
Yeah.
That was all pasture. That was no
Yeah,
pasture.
that's pasture and stuff. So it's just between the edge of our property and to the corner of where Devon and
Yeah, you're right
Mount
here.
Street comes down. Yep.
I mean, I guess this is a question. I mean, we could say, you know, you have to put in a dry well to deal with the water. If that does not solve the problem and it becomes worse, then you're gonna be required to get some engineering, you know, to fix the issue.
Mhm. Which is in his interest as well. you know.
Well, there again, the issue is he may not own it at that point.
Right.
Well,
If we have a
That's
mild,
true.
if we have a mild spring and he sells the house to you next year.
But
that's
you
just-
maybe
He
you
doesn't- I
put
don't
that
believe he
as a,
owns the lot now.
Yeah.
I believe the lot is, or does.
See what?
He owns a lot?
Owns that lot now, don't he?
Yeah, he owns a lot. He's even
It came
talking
off
about
of-
building a house on it because he didn't think, you know, people would just build, he figured, he was, the last thing we talked to, he was gonna build a house.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked to him in quite a few months, but that was his idea, 'cause he
Oh,
thought,
he still intends to.
yeah, yeah. Cause there's a lot of issues with the septic tanks and with this water and stuff. He just figured he'd build it and sell it and that'd be it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. He's not gonna. He's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
gonna
I
be the
don't
one
know.
that owns it once.
right, I
once-
mean, how do you put that condition in on it? You
Yeah.
could say that condition runs with the property and he's gotta disclose it to the people. But, I mean, getting somebody to do it, if it's still a problem, is a problem.
Right.
Yeah,
It seems,
enforcement of a condition like that would be very difficult. And then,
Right,
and then what if they don't comply? What's the next step after?
right.
right.
That'd be
That's
very-
why it seems like the design step of doing the dry well as part of putting in the driveway seems like an easier.
Well, the drywall
solution.
will only work if the soil conditions are right.
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 Well, it's all sand. When we dug our extension or addition, it's all beach sand under our house.
It could be beach stand at your place and
Oh,
Clay.
oh, okay.
clay the
Oh,
next
okay.
place over.
All right, well, okay, that's
So,
silly.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, that
Clay's
just
all
because
out
you
now,
have
isn't
that
it?
doesn't mean your neighbor does.
No, not all,
No.
because the funeral I went to today, the grave was in sand and that was an ass. So,
They put that in there.
no, I don't think they did.
But I could do that for a first step if you guys want, relay it back to Stan that you guys decided that because of the water, potential problem with the water, that he needs to install one of them 8-foot round wood like we did on Pine Street.
Yeah, but what happens if that doesn't work? I mean,
I
we might
think
know,
it-
we
I
might
think
not know that for
no,
2 or
I
3
think it
years.
needs one of those,
Well,
and an
no.
underground culvert till the daylight's down here, top of the hill, going north, going west.
Yeah, but you're gonna run that right on the North Street?
Gonna, no, down to that ditch line to, Lathrop's, Dick Lathrop's old place.
Yeah.
That's a stormwater, that's North Street.
Water's don't go that way, you can't pump it uphill.
It's uphill to there though.
I know, that's why
It
I'm
is
saying that
uphill.
culvert's gonna be underground.
That's why the water sits where it sits.
The water always went north before.
Right, but now you're
You
pumping
put a
on
road in
something.
the way.
We didn't, the village trustees did in
So.
nineteen seventy-four.
But
You
if we're
sold the
talking
farm.
about the house offsetting, like not being able to absorb that water and you create a dry well, you would imagine then the water situation would be constant other than climate change, which we can't control right now. But you would be able to offset that harm because we're not looking for a solution to the water problem, which already exists. What we're saying is how do we make it not
Not worse,
worse
right.
and also not wash out the road or ice it up all the time.
I mean,
There's
within-
6 inches of water, a foot of water there, he brings his soil up.
3
full.
feet of water there.
I was gonna say, there's a lot more than
Yeah,
a,
that's-
there's a lot
that's
more than a
steep
foot,
there.
yeah.
He raises that lawn up, couple 3 feet, and most of that's gonna come out of here in the road.
Val, you had a question?
Would it make sense to give them the choice of either installing a dry well or have it engineered? Because they're both probably going to cost about the same initially. And the engineered approach might come up with a different solution.
It's true,
Yeah, it's fine.
that's a good idea, Valerie. What do you wanna do, people? Table this, wanna? vote
Where,
it down?
Jill, where's the water line there?
For what, to go where?
On Devon Lane?
On the right, it crosses.
Across
Which
they
one
did that.
which spot are you on? Are you talking about the lot to the right of Butler's old place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me pull up the map, because I think it's on the right, but it could, it might be on the left. Hold on, let me pull it up.
Well, here's across the
We
street.
intersected it on the corner to connect the two that are
Rennie
closer to
came
north.
across the road from Mary's Corner
Right,
and came on, we let him go on our property, cut across there, so it's on the Marriott
It's on the
side.
north side.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where I think it is.
Because that he had to cross right at the intersection.
No, it goes down over. the
Cause
hill.
he's gotta have isolation from that.
It goes down over the hill, down to North Street. It runs
Oh.
mostly in Cedar.
Behind the tree.
And from the service lines, you can't put it near a service line.
Which means it's all mine.
Stake is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it, okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been cutting the grass for him. I mean, we're not against the house, just so everybody knows.
Yeah,
I've been cutting this grass so it looks nice.
and we could another solution, you know, Valerie has a good idea too, but another solution is he doesn't fill that in level with the road. You know, he leaves an impression for the water to settle, and then that's where you put your dry well, so the water.
Identify the impression.
Right.
The impression.
So maybe what we could do is not approve this, but have you have a discussion with him and see, you know, what sort of solution he'd support. I mean, this might be easy, like he might agree and say, yes, let's do something.
Yeah.
Is that?
Okay, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a dry well, but it has to be something that will incorporate the water back in.
Right.
There's the chambers,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
Bristol Works put in chambers.
Mhm.
But that's all contingent on the soil being able to take the water.
And maybe that's what you do. You say you need to come up with a solution and bring it back to the board before we're gonna
Approve
approve.
it. Yeah, exactly.
So what are we hearing? What am I hearing here? People wanna send it back to Eric and not vote on it tonight?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't feel we can.
I want that picture,
Yeah.
Okay.
so I can basically show Stan.
Take the whole thing. No,
I don't need the cover letter, I just need.
no, I'd rather keep the letter.
The water line moves on that corner.
I'd like to.
What was that, Jill?
The water line moves on that corner, so I can send the drawings, but it's on G6 and G7 and it's on the north side of the road after Meadow Lane, but then it actually crosses over
Yeah,
on G7 to the south side of the road.
right. That's where Rainey put his
Yeah,
water
yeah,
line in
yeah.
too.
He put in down lower, so I'll send over G6 and G7, you guys can see.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yep.
alrighty, so we'll take.
Valerie, I'll send you the photograph on the computer so it's really clear.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Yep.
the thought
Thank you.
behind it.
Mhm.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, number 4, public hearing, proposed amendment to the Bristol Unified Development Bylaws. Anybody wanna,
Yeah.
this is a public hearing part of the.
We're open the public hearing for the
for the
proposed
bylaws
amendments
of
to
the
the Bristol
Unified
Unified Development.
Development bylaw.
Right, no, absolutely.
Anybody got any?
Anybody
there?
here for the bylaws? Have any questions, concerns?
That we're gonna be voting on next month?
We're going to have another public hearing.
We'll have one
Right,
more
right.
public hearing.
Right.
I think we have two.
I think
At
two,
least
yeah.
one more, maybe 2 more.
I read two, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, no comments?
I would consider those public information meetings rather than public hearings.
Okay,
Oh,
public
this is-
information.
I'm reading
the
what's
last-
here.
This is the last statutory public hearing.
So we have a public information meeting on October 28th and November 4th.
Mhm.
And that'll be one of the articles we're gonna be voting on November 5th.
November.
That'll be one of the local.
Local ballots. yeah.
Local ballots, yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
number 5.
Right, you gotta close the
Hold on one
public.
sec. Hold on one sec. Sorry, Porter asked, so there is another meeting on this, yes? There's a public, there are 2 more public information meetings about it. It's not,
Yes.
those aren't meetings that will take into consideration feedback from the public. It's just informational to let the public know about the changes in the Unified Development Regulations.
Okay, so
That
what's
is correct.
what's
That's
proposed
correct.
tonight is what we'll be voting on.
That is correct.
That's
Correct.
correct. What's on the website, correct, Ian?
Yes.
They are unified around the website, yes, correct. Do you have a question for us tonight, Porter?
Not really, thank you. It's just, I've been trying to follow it over the last 18 months and I feel like I lost track of it and so, oh well.
That's Porter. If you would like to speak to me about it, I'm happy to talk about it if I can speak without coughing. Hopefully I'll get better this week, but I'm happy to talk to you about it in detail. Michelle and I have been following it and have probably have the most information of the board members about the updates.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Also, the planning commission report from October, that's also on the website in different places, but also on the meeting section for this meeting.
Yeah.
Is a-
I
is a
did
quick summary.
read everything that was in your administrator's report. Thank you for those thorough reports. I appreciate it. I still feel like I maybe sort of missed a ball somewhere along the way, but I know there's been a lot of hard work on it, so it's.
Okay, thank you, Porter.
Close the
Valerie, you have
public.
any more to add? Or we change, okay? We'll close that public part of that. Number 5, ARPA funding update guidance on final allocations from Assistant Treasurer Chris Pearl. Chris, you're up.
Wait, before you do that, though, you really do need to take action to vote on you need
Oh,
to
okay.
take final action to accept the proposal, the updated regulations.
I make a motion to accept the updated regulations.
I second.
Is there a motion and a second to update or to accept the motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay.
Thank
Thought we
you.
did that in the last meeting.
That we did too. Thanks, Valerie. ARPA funding update and guidance on funding allocations for Assistant Treasurer Chris Pearl.
All night.
You're gonna be sick one next.
Thank you. I got you. It's on. So I hope everyone read the memo that I threw together over the last week.
You didn't throw it together.
Well, I
It
didn't throw
took
it-
a lot of time preparing that.
There is, there's a lot, there was a lot of reading. There's been a lot of confusion around how we can use this money, how we need to deal with it, and how you allocate it, obligate it, and what that really means. As I spelled out, while we may have looked at that we had allocated much more, roughly another $250,000 than we actually have obligated. Obligation means that we've either spent it or we have a signed contract and the work has to be done by the end of this year.
This year?
The end of 2020,
Has to be- has to
the
be
con-
allocated.
Has to be,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes.
So what has to be done by 2024?
The contract, we have to have contract signed by the end of this year, work has to be done by the end of 2026. So be.
2025.
26.
2026, okay.
Right,
26.
but we have to spend it before then.
Yeah, if you physically spend it, but we have to have the contracts in hand. And
Right.
at the end of that, whatever we don't do correctly, we give back.
Right.
Which we don't want to do.
No, we don't. So, speaking with Katie, the biggest thing that we can do is utilize this money and obligate it towards existing expenses. As I laid out here, her recommendations are payroll. It's an easy one. We have a lot of it. We can utilize it. We obligate the monies to our previous payroll for this year. We could, if we need to, we can go further back. I would prefer not to go further back. Keeping everything in one fiscal year is a much cleaner system. But we can go back in as far back as 2021 if we had to come up with other expenses. We cannot apply it to any current debt. You can't offset debt with this. This was designed, at least for this first step. It's doom and gloom at the moment, but it's an easy fix. So as I laid out is I would recommend that you obligate $530,000 towards payroll. That leaves around $30,000 you could obligate. And you have some projects. You have folks here tonight that are looking, if they can pull that together, it would be great. As I threw out there's looks at buying a vehicle. The work that was done either has been or will be done to restore Varney Cemetery. There's some of these things that we've been doing right along. If we had to, we could even put out using payroll right up through November. We could pull more payroll in and actually reach this number very easily if we had to. I'd rather have you guys do make a resolution. I sent out a draft of that as well. I believe you guys got as well, which is doing just that. It's
So Chris, can I have something for you?
absolutely.
I thought, we had at one point allocated the money to and I can't remember, Val, you jump in, but I
Revenue
remember us
replacement.
making that decision.
Right.
And I thought,
What was that, Val?
Revenue replacement.
yeah, and I thought that took care of it. So Katie says no?
Correct. It was either incorrect information, or a misunderstanding. I don't know. I have
I
no clue.
don't think they knew.
Yeah, it was, the finalized rules from the feds actually came out last year. So it took them 3 years to come up with the final rules. So what the rules you were playing with at the very beginning have changed. So that's the biggie. It's not, the nice part is once this happens, once you resolve to utilize it for existing expenses, it then becomes unanticipated revenue into your general fund. Then y'all can do whatever you want with it. You can spend it as you had planned along. The only caveat with that again is you had put money, you had allocated money like for the skate park. It's a great example. That isn't going to happen right off. That's a long-term plan, as we all know. You'd have to create a reserve fund, or the taxpayers would have to approve your reserve fund. But that's an easy fix.
You can't put that right in the rec, we have a rec reserve fund already.
You could, so that, as you see, there was 3 options you have.
You don't have to vote.
Is use the revenue source for budgets throughout between now and the end of this fiscal year, through the end of June. You could transfer it to existing reserve funds or create new reserve funds, which you would do at town meeting. So.
Oh, so let me clarify, make sure I understand what you're saying. If we do this resolution, we put it towards payroll expenses.
Yes.
We can take that money that we were gonna use for payroll. And then we could decide whatever we wanna do with it. We don't need to create a reserve fund. We can put them all and allocate it wherever we decide to, but we don't need to create a specific reserve fund unless we're gonna do that ahead of time.
Correct. The only reason you would create the reserve fund is at the end of the year, you would have a surplus. You're not,
right.
We try not to have surplus. Yeah, we try not to have surpluses as a municipality. So with that being said, it's like I said, and the only other piece with it, after you do this, it's no longer ARPA money. We know, you can't reference it as ARPA money in any type of language when you make a motion. It is undesignated funds, or however you want to verb it.
Unassigned.
So unassigned.
So this is a change then, because in the original guidance, they were saying that you couldn't do this. You couldn't simply allocate it for payroll, debt reduction. You couldn't give it back to the taxpayers. You couldn't do any of those things.
Well, they originally told us we could do the revenue replacement.
Right.
And
But you couldn't do payroll.
Right, so you can't use it for future payroll.
Okay.
But it's
So
pre-existing payroll.
you can use it to reimburse yourself basically for past payroll.
Okay.
In all honesty, this is really semantics.
Mm-hmm.
This is, they give us the money, we follow the rules, and we have to add one more basically step in it. And that's
so you
just
keep
like
the money, so you can keep the money and not send back. Really is what.
Right.
And unfortunately, small communities like ourselves are dealing with it because larger communities were abusing this horribly.
Right.
So
the first communities that got it, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of fraud. And
Yeah.
so unfortunately, like I said, this is an easy fix. And you don't have to do it tonight. It's just something I really, if you want to noodle through, I would.
These are good options though, and then we have the groups to hear from, so then we would know sort of what the final amount would be.
Yeah, so it's really look at whatever projects you could have contracted or spent by the end of this year.
Right.
Plus the money we've already spent, whatever that remaining dollar is, you allocate it for payroll reimbursement.
Right.
And that would put you back where we thought we were 6 months ago.
Great.
That makes sense.
Excuse me, may I ask one question?
Sure.
Are you talking about the fiscal year or the calendar?
For as far as spending for contract, the contracts have to be in place by December 31st.
Just the
This
year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's as clear as it went to me.
No, it makes
No,
sense.
it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Well,
They just
to me,
changed everything.
To me, we're,
Right.
It's exactly what we thought we did originally. We just have to document it.
Yeah, basically you missed one step. When you first accepted the money, this type of resolution would have resolved all of this issue, but you didn't know you needed to do it. So
They probably didn't know we needed to
didn't
do
know.
it.
They really didn't. And speaking with Katie, this is, yeah, it's.
I guess my question is, we had the committee that Porter and you sat on, and a bunch of people did a lot of good work. I didn't agree with all of what we gave away, don't get me wrong, but we gave it to do some work in the community to support things, and another one we're gonna look at tonight to support things, and then to say, well, we're gonna pay off old payroll.
But we'll still
No,
have
we'll
the
still
money
have
to
the
do
money,
those-
right.
to do
That's what
those things.
that's
It's
what I'm
just
trying
a
to
timing,
grasp.
it's
I
just
don't
a
understand.
timing thing.
We've already paid that payroll out of tax money.
Right, but you're putting it back in, so you're having that extra, you're reimbursing yourself, so you have the extra money.
Originally,
Here's
we
moving
took
it from
all of
one
that
hand
money
to
and we put it in the
another.
town's coffers. That's what they told us we had to do, and then we could spend it as we saw fit. But now they're saying, no,
You need
it
to
has to be
spend it.
spent and it has to be documented.
Right.
So we're gonna spend it as payroll, and then we're gonna take the money that would have been payroll and do the projects we wanted to do.
It's just a timing thing. It's like moving it from one hand to the other.
Just shell game.
It
That's
is.
right.
That's exactly what it is.
I don't understand it, I have to.
So what?
It's government red tape.
Yeah, what it comes down is you have $560,000 sitting in the ARPA fund on paper.
Right.
That money will disappear and go against payroll. Once that occurs, your general fund will be showing a
$530,000.
$560,000 shot in the arm.
Which we can then
So-
spend as we want.
Town, let's play this up. March 2027 town meeting. We've been through July of 26, and they start auditing the books, and they go, you got a $530,000 surplus. And we put on the articles to put it here, here, and here, and they vote them all no.
I guess that could happen.
And
The
then
money's still there.
that's what I don't understand.
The money's still there. The money would stay in unassigned funds at that point.
Yeah.
But also, it's really unlikely that voters would vote it down. I mean, you're keeping the money in the town budget. You're just moving it to reserve funds versus your active
When it
budget.
makes the motion, so I make a motion to have that all undesignated funds to reduce taxes.
Mhm.
Then we didn't get any projects
You-
done.
you-
Yeah.
In all
We paid our own
reality,
payroll.
Mhm.
Okay, I see some, I see it, but
We don't really have an option.
You're having a hard
though.
time wrapping your head around
Right.
you
it.
sure am.
but the sad part is, Joel, if we don't do this,
Give
We
it
do
away.
have
lose
that.
it. We're gonna pay it
year,
back.
at the end of the year, we've got to cut a $500,000 check back to the federal government.
I don't wanna do that either.
And that's the cold hard reality of this.
Okay,
Right.
So that's a horrible part. with this.
Valerie got her hand up. Valerie?
Thanks. Have we consulted with the auditors about this? 'Cause
No,
are
I
they-
wanted to
are
get-
they going to have a cow if they see that money allocated to past payroll?
No, and that is actually the next step of this. In Katie's letter, it was very clear that she recommended that whatever path we decide to go down, we should run it by the auditors. I didn't want to go that route first without getting board consensus on where we should go with it.
Cause he has to answer to us, not to the auditors.
Yeah,
Well, kind of both.
Yeah, sort of both. So,
Okay,
I mean, really what I'm asking for tonight is viewing this, over the next 2 weeks, I would continue to pursue this. Shoot it out to the auditors, have them review the decision, after tonight, you guys will also have some more potential spending opportunities.
Right.
We'll know those numbers. I then can pull together an actual a very clear dollar resolution for you at that point in time. That at your next meeting, I could actually go to do it, if that works for you.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do.
so
I
we're
think-
not requiring a vote tonight, this
Oh,
is
wait,
just
I
an
think
update.
Ian.
Ian, go ahead.
I think we should also be wary of looking at the research I was doing, just because this came in today. And because this has obviously changed from what we originally thought a year ago, it seems like we also need formal agreements or contracts with the other entities that we've given money to. like Willow Well, like,
No,
No, it's
no,
already spent
no,
money.
those are sub-recipients that's already spent money, that's.
But like.
I
the
know, but
state
from what I'm reading, is that we have to have a contract with them. And it's obviously approved by us, but we also need to have sort of documentation about that process. I would want to check on that. And because we seem very certain that this was the right thing to do, and now we're being told not. So I think that it would behoove us to check on that, because if we don't, then money that hasn't been spent yet from those organizations, or even has been spent, if we have to come back and report on that and we don't have any reporting, we're going to be screwed.
We already have resolutions for the ones that have spent the money.
Yes. So,
Right.
did you hear that, Ian?
Okay, but
so
there are
we-
some that haven't spent that money yet. So what happens to them?
Right, that's where the problem is, like the skate park.
Well, no, so you, like the Masons, like, I'll use the Masons very clearly. We gave them money to build their elevator, their project has not been completed. They're a sub-recipient, it's irrelevant. You spent, the town of Bristol spent that money.
Without a contract.
But then the question.
But
then the
you
question
obligated,
is-
yeah.
Right, so then the question is, I think that Ian's asking is that vote that the select board did enough, or do we need any other documentation? So
Well, we
that,
have the resolutions.
right,
Which is
so,
what we would be
But
doing.
it's not a contract.
right, so. we
Which is
have
the same with
that.
these,
touched
which
on
is gonna be the
this.
same with this resolution. It's just gonna be a resolution.
Right, so is that enough documentation? Although it seems like if we're asked for more documentation than what we have, we just
We
get
just
it,
get it,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like.
I
we're
just
gonna-
think that's something, I just think that's something we should double check on. I think it's
Yeah.
easy for us to get that information. But I would run that by the LCT just to make sure, because this is a pretty big change that has come
Right.
before us right now. And it also adds a lot more complication, because then we have to figure out how to assign this money, especially to things that we perhaps don't have reserve funds for.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what I don't want to do, and if I'm here in 2 years when we kind of wrap this all up, so to speak, is, oh, you didn't have a contract with the Masons. You gave them the 75,000, they put a beautiful elevator in, they need it. And then, but all the dots weren't crossed and, so, you know.
The contracts have to all be done by. the
Right,
end
and if
of
we didn't get
this-
those
the
done, but
end
we had a
of this year.
resolution, said, no, that wasn't enough.
So
You owe us 75,000, and taxpayers got to write the federal government a tax for
Yep.
75,000 and not the Masons.
Yep.
That would be hair on the back of my neck would come up, and I don't have much hair on the back of that neck.
I got plenty.
So yeah, those, like the Masons, Willow Well, Turning Point, anyone that we've written physical checks to, those are spent funds. I will double check that. I will run that up the flagpole. I will take the resolutions that you have already approved and have signed, run those out to Katie as well.
Get it in writing.
At least an email, right?
Well, so here's the thing, we can get in writing from any of these people that are assisting us, the feds aren't gonna sign a thing, so.
Oh, I know that, but I'm just telling the people that are helping, just so we say, well, we went on.
Yeah, no, Katie, so Katie is a phenomenal resource, the LCT, if there's anyone who knows the ropes, it's.
Yeah.
As you can tell, there's some bad taste in our mouth when we say feds, because when we were told we got 50% of the water line on West Street, we didn't get any of it, and we got, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That, I still burp a little bit of that bad taste in my mouth. don't want
I
to
will,
get-
I will clear
want
up,
it in writing.
no, I'll clear up your existing obligation, what you've already actually
Spent.
obligated.
What we have spent.
Yeah.
And there's a resolution the same thing as a contract. That's what I guess I
Is
want.
that good enough?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more like, because we didn't cut a check for the 140,000 for the skate park.
No, because that's our
Well,
own
that's-
money, that's where it comes, when you
That's
send
where
it
the
out.
shoe pinches.
Yeah, when you send it outside of, once you cut a physical check,
Right,
It's
that's
spent.
spent.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
I
it's
will-
spent, but also we need to check on the reporting, because there's nothing
Yeah.
that we can show
Correct.
that proves that that money was used for what it was supposed to be used for. So there has to be some method for the federal government to receive reporting from us that proves that that money just wasn't squandered on someone's car that they bought because we gave them $52,000. There has
Sure.
to be more reporting
Nope.
that they're going to want, and we need to make absolutely sure of that.
I will. Again, we had this discussion and those are would be considered subrecipients, just like any other grant. It's no different than when you receive federal funds to do a highway project and you hire a excavating company to come in and you write them a $50,000 check. You're assuming they did the work that they said they did. It's the same concept. So I will confirm all of these things and I will bring it to you at your next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, but also, just speaking to that, generally, if we're writing a check to an excavation company, the town has a contract with great detail about what project that excavation company is doing. So we just need to make sure that we have that for the various projects and proof that the project was done.
Right. Okay, Porter, you had a question, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm reassured. I really appreciate, Chris, you looking into that. And I agree with Michelle's comment to get it in writing or, just from, if the LCT can, I know we can't get it from the feds, but if she could at least reassure us in writing to make sure that we feel good about that. And also, I mean, I wonder if it's not too hard to just have a simple contract with all the people we've already given the money to, just to cover ourselves, so that we're safe.
I was gonna say that. Just get something signed by each of them.
Yeah.
That we give. I mean, there's
So
not like
it's-
there's a ton of
yeah.
them.
Right.
So I think that there's like several things we can do to reassure ourselves, and I'm glad to have Chris doing that. So, looking into having VLC reassure us in writing that this is really the way, maybe having a simple contract for everybody, just so that's done and that's taken care of. And then the other thing that I wanted to say was to pick up on something Joel alluded to earlier. And I mean, I think that the ARPA committee in general has been really, really appreciative of the select board's commitment to following the recommendations that the committee made. And I think that you could just let the record show, if you decide to go this route, because this is the guidance we're getting, that the moving of this money is in no way indicating the select board's not following through on the plans from the committee. It's simply to satisfy the regulation change that we've been advised of. And I think if your minutes reflect your intention with clarity, that Joel, that'll prevent us from having a situation where we might get, public comment or, community members seeking to spend that money otherwise. If you guys just say in the minutes that you're making this resolution because we need to satisfy the guidance we've been given, but that that you guys remain committed to following, the guidelines that the committee gave you, the recommendations and the spirit of that.
Thanks, Porter.
Thank you,
Although
Porter.
you'll have to be careful with that if we can't mention ARPA funds and the resolution. So.
Yeah, well, so the original resolution we do, it's going forward, anytime you wanna utilize these funds, the word, any ARPA, SLO.
Or slush fund.
Yeah. And that's really what you call it, so.
Okay.
I'll have all that.
Keep working on it.
I'll
Thank you,
have it all
Chris.
for you guys next month, in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, number 6, ARPA funding request from Lawrence Memorial Library for an outdoor classroom, the Peace Garden renovation department position from a part-time to a full-time position. And we'll start with the library one. It's the first one on the list.
Hi, I'm Scott Cleaver, the chair of the library trustees.
Okay.
And I think that you all did receive a copy of our proposal from.
Did I?
Val, do you want to put it up?
Yeah, Valerie.
Or Ian, somebody put it up?
Oh, wait, we got
Sure,
it
Val is.
a couple weeks ago,
Oh, she-
not in this one.
She go off.
She must be, but.
I'll try, but
I
my
can't.
internet's very,
She had to reboot. I saw it in there.
Okay.
yeah, I think I have to reboot.
Ian, do you have access to it?
Yeah, let me pull it up. Give me 1 second, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Maybe you could start by just describing the motivation behind the
So
request.
the library's been super successful. It's growing, the programs are growing. Unfortunately, the space that we have to offer all of these programs, we've outgrown that space. The only place that could be available is a little spot right behind the library, which contains the leach field for our septic system primarily. There's some space that's, occupied by that leach field, and then there's a little bit around the side. So looking at this space that we had, we're trying to find a way to utilize this space in a way that protects the septic system, but it allows for an outdoor education area for the kids. A place that's safe, it's sheltered from the weather, it'll have electricity out there, we'll have a little, a safety camera on it. We've talked with our neighbor to the south, George, and he likes the proposal. So I think once we get it pulled up, you get an idea of what it looks like.
Okay.
So just, I won't read through the whole thing there, but obviously it serves a lot of children during the summer months for summer programming. Space is limited. Renovating the outdoor program area would increase the number of children served in a variety of programs, plus other community members that frequently use the library space. So all would benefit.
And I think it's important to point out that these summer camps and programs are free, unlike the other offerings in town.
So this is looking down on the Lawrence Memorial Library. You can see North Street off on the side there, and at the top of the map would be the south end of town. The space we're looking at currently, that dark green area that says trees and grass, is literally a large tree there and some grass, and the drain field sits pretty much to its west and south from there. There is a storage shed currently on the corner of the property, and its condition is quite poor. The roof needs replacing, the sides, it's sagging, it's in desperate need of some repair, even if it could be repaired, which I think is kind of doubtful. It would take an awful lot of money to bring it up to.
What do you keep in the sheds?
Well, right now, pretty much everything from the popcorn maker that we use on movie nights to there's some books in there. They've got their program stuff, and most of it's in plastic, but not all of it, so.
The light green, is that grass or is that?
So right now, the light green would be the grass area that's there.
Look, you've got the tree and grass specifically set up, so that's what.
It's just to
what the
kind of
rest
like
is.
orient you, if you're familiar with the space back there, that's where, and I'm not gonna say this is totally to scale, but it's pretty.
No, that's fine.
So the actual septic tank sits in the easement of the driveway that goes from the north side there to our neighbor George on the south side of the library. That's where the actual septic is. Earlier this year, we had a riser put into it to help facilitate pumping of it. They did take a look at the drain field, and everything seems to be operating well. The problem that we have, that we came across right from the get-go, is we would love to have something more permanent. Ideally, what you have next to the hub here and the pickleball courts with that nice concrete base to it and that nice portico that's beautiful. That would be great for us, but we can't because of that drain field there. So this proposal is a way to hopefully still be able to utilize the space without.
You wanna go to the next screen, Ann?
So the corner there where it says new storage shed up next to the actual library there's a little cutout there. That space, from what I understand, if the library ends up moving to propane, that could be a shared spot. I think it's big enough to both put a new storage shed there and accommodate the propane tank sitting there. Obviously, the easement stays the same, the septic stays the same, the drain field stays the same. But we would take a gazebo or portico, or I'm not sure what you want to call it, put it along the east end of the property. And you're probably familiar with the sails that people have to shelter, the sunlight and so forth. Imagine this entire area that I have put in green here is no longer going to be grass, but it would be some sort of an aggregate, is my guess. And whether that's a recycled rubber material, or it could be gravel, pea gravel, whatever. The drain field's still gonna be accessible. You just pull that stuff off and you could easily, if you needed to get in and do some work, it's not like we're putting a big concrete slab over the top of it. And we would have a second storage shed, and between these two smaller ones, it would equal the same amount of storage space that the current kind of dilapidated shed that we currently have. Would be broken up into two sections.
On your gazebo, it says 3-foot encroachment. What does that mean? What are you encroaching on?
Oh.
The neighbor? You don't meet the setback.
That orange line on the left side there is the old hurricane fencing that separates the library property and the people directly to the east of us. And the hurricane fencing is just a mash of Japanese knotweed and garbage and stuff that's grown in there. We'd like to take that gazebo and push it as close as we can into that area. I mean, we'd have to go in and remove a bunch of the trees or a bunch of the bushes and stuff that's there to be able to put that up against it. In order to kind of keep things safe, we're envisioning having one of those short 3-foot fences, you know, privacy fence, not a full 8-foot or 6-foot, but just a little one. So the kids know, oh, I'm not gonna go running into the backyard of George's place, or I'm not gonna cruise over here to the east side. And it definitely delineates this area. This is your new educational space inside this little 3-foot walled area.
And why would you have to put aggregate in there, and why can't you leave? Well, I mean, I can understand it underneath the gazebo area, but why the rest of it? Why can't that be grass?
It could be.
Oh, you just said it would all be replaced, and I was like, well, that's a little sad.
Well, yeah, so if you look back at the first thing that is there where that tree is and the grasses, it's full of invasive stuff that's in there. It hasn't been maintained. It's not usable the way it is now. And so I'm thinking that if we had that cleaned up, and whether it's replanted or not, I mean, that's something that we can decide at a later date. My vision was to have it as some sort of an aggregate in there. If the kids are painting on it, it just goes, you know.
Well, I'll just give you a heads up on the knotweed. The state won't let you just put it anywhere. Peter and I found that out from them. You can't just pull it up and dump it anywhere.
No, I know.
It's like.
So I don't know if you get to the
Next slide, please. Next slide.
So that gazebo that was on that previous one is something that I looked up on Lowe's and found something that would work for us and be enough for a couple of picnic tables or several smaller tables, a bunch of little chairs for the students. Yeah, there's a picture of it on there.
Yeah, he's just gotta go a couple more slides, but so
that gazebo right there is gonna run about $3,000 for the gazebo or portico or whatever they call it in there. And then you can read the rest there is how we kind of broke down where we got our estimates from.
Privacy fence.
That one's an 8-foot, but we would do the short one instead. It just hasn't been reflected up there. Instead of pouring a concrete slab, you got 4 sonotubes put in there. The posts, they screw right in place. Worst case scenario that they needed to excavate a whole lot more than just where the leach field is. You can easily unscrew those posts, and the thing is meant to be disassembled. You know, I mean, it is assembled on site, so it can easily be disassembled too.
I would recommend the precast post now as opposed to the pouring sonotubes.
Okay.
They're they're like $130 a piece and they're simple to set.
Yeah.
Perfect. And this is an example of what those sales would be.
You may look at, what's the timber place up, Starksboro?
Vermont Frames.
Vermont Frames.
I worked with them when they did the one at the rec field.
Okay.
That nice one there.
Perfect.
Very cheap. They wanted to do a donation. And I know they did one for Lincoln schools too.
Awesome.
We got that one for very reasonable.
Nice.
We put the concrete in for them and they came and set the ramp.
I mean, like I say,
That's a beautiful one.
I'd love to replicate exactly what you have there
I
on
may
this
just
site.
reach out to them.
And this would be an example of one of
It
the,
is
you know,
different.
tough sheds, and everyone's kind of familiar with those. And that's what my vision was for that part, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
My only question is back to the, Peter, and you can answer this with more than probably anybody else, is when you have the system where the septic is, don't you have to have a replacement system spot?
No, well, not right now.
Yes,
I mean, but
there is one done.
But yeah, I was gonna say, I thought there was. I thought we had that discussion.
And the orientation of that field is not right. It runs parallel to the driveway. And that should
So
be.
you gotta turn it clockwise a little,
Yeah,
counterclockwise a little bit.
Counterclockwise, yeah.
But it wouldn't impact the design.
No,
No.
no, and you should be able to get that from, I wanna say that Spencer Harris designed that Vermont Contours.
And so we had Clark Wright come out when they did the riser for the septic tank itself, and they did flag the corners, you know, they probed and found where the corners were. And it, by the time I got there, the person mowing the lawn had pulled all the flags. And so that little pink is from memory, and I don't remember it being perfectly, you know, parallel, perpendicular to the driveway easement in the main road. It was kittywampus on the side.
And possible, when they did the big dig up North Street, there is a force main to the old fire station. It feeds in-
It's not out there.
No.
It's in the front.
It's in the front, yes. Could that, now this being a town building, be used and not do away with our,
We'd have to expand the sewer district.
we'd have to expand the sewer. Some work would have to be done, but I think that's.
If you did that, I'd high five you right now. That was the first iteration, that was the
I
first.
mean, I think if we ever had that thing bubble out of the ground, so to speak, I think that's where this board or a future board would look. Well, why don't we just tie into the system that's all the way out front of the old fire station?
I mean, it's a public restroom that's used when the library's open, it's being used, so.
What do you do with the kids now? I mean,
They pop up a tent.
yeah, but during the winter time, you can't do that.
No, no.
It's not utilized.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but during the summer, they pop up a tent, but then like with the wind or the rain, the library staff would have to like take it up, put it
Right,
down.
It's a pretty stout tent, it's pretty cumbersome for the
Yeah.
employees at the library.
Okay.
My only other question is like, I don't know if there's a setback for your gazebo or not, but you might have to forget that
Maybe that's more than likely just get a waiver. through the
waiver.
zoning process.
Mhm. Okay.
So the,
Because it has a roof, right? So you would have to go,
Structure
yeah.
is structure.
Yeah.
so you're asking, you had 40,000, did I see 40? So you're asking that from the ARPA funding?
Yep.
That's not part of that big, huge.
No, that other grant, that's for the heating system, the
Okay.
ventilation, all the HVAC stuff that's gonna be going in, that's the main.
What
part.
was that amount there for ARPA?
$40,450.
Okay.
As I mentioned in my notes, I would, if the select board's going to consider approving this, I would recommend adding a contingency value in there and also ask the question if some sort of bollard or guardrail or some other kind of protection should be included along the building wall to avoid any collisions with more activity back there.
Yeah, on that materials list, it does have movable bollards. Right now, I've just allocated 2 of them. We talked with George and he said he would also, you know, notify the renters that he has on that property on North Street and then put a couple of movable bollards. I mean, other than that, I'm not sure what else we can do as far as that driveway easement that's there.
Okay.
Well, the reason why that came up, I don't know if select board members are aware that a vehicle backed into the building and caused some damage to the corner of the building. And if more vehicles are going to be maneuvering in that area, that it might be worthwhile to install something, even just some sort of metal barrier along the wall. Just I don't know what the portable bollard thing looks like, but I wonder if it would hold up to being hit by a car.
It's only meant for pedestrians, so as the people are leaving the rental unit, and if the library is out there with kids, that they would put those bollards on both ends, where the street is and by the rental property, so that the people that are currently renting know that, oh, yes, I hear children, and look, there's a little post that says there are children here.
So that driveway goes back to your neighbor's apartment building. And they park over there? They park over there, okay.
Yes. Yes. Okay. You want to?
Porta, is this is in line with the recommendations that the committee made?
100% yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I remember it being on the list.
Okay.
Val mentioned a contingency. I might recommend increasing this request to 50,000 for this project.
For inflation.
Okay. Okay, when we make a motion, Ian, you wanna say that, please? If you, and see if you get a second? Okay. All right, any more
Nicely done,
questions
Joel.
on the? Yeah, we're gonna do are we gonna do all 3 of these together, or we're gonna separate?
I think it one at a
Do
time.
one at a
One at a
time.
time, okay?
Yeah.
Any more
I
discussion
would-
on this? Are you all in big motion?
Yeah, sure. I can speak here. I'll make a motion to accept the Lawrence Memorial Library's ARPA proposal with the change to increase the amount to $50,000 for the project.
A second.
So, there's a motion,
Wait,
a second. Any discussion from the board?
You can discuss.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bill,
So
Chris?
based on the discussion we had previously,
Article 5.
We will need a contract signed before the end of this year.
yes, and those funds have to be spent by December 31st. Or you have to wait, roll this out as non-ARPA money after.
Contract.
The contract
signed by December 31st,
Right.
or the money spent. Because
Right.
if you're not gonna hire a contractor to do it all, and we're gonna start buying materials ourselves, all those things have to be bought by the end of the year with this month. Stores. Yeah, bought, stored, they don't have to be up for until 2026, but everything would have to be purchased by the end of the year.
Oh, I thought just the contract had to be.
Or if we're buying them, if the library's gonna buy them right up front, if not have a contractor do this work, any of those items that the library plan on purchasing themselves has to be purchased by the end of the year. If they hire a contractor to handle this entire project and hand us a contract, easy peasy.
Wait, hold on a sec. The library is a separate organization. It's nothing to do with the town. It's like, it would be the same as the other organizations that we've given money to.
That's what I was thinking.
I know the library is moving towards trying to be an official municipal library, but they're not there at the moment. And so they are an appropriation-based organization, but they are a separate organization, as far as I'm aware.
Similar to probably Bristol Rescue.
Okay.
The town owns the
But I
building.
hear what you're saying, Chris, and we should double and triple check that.
Yeah, this is a super weird one.
Yeah.
It is, because we own the building and we do maintenance on the building, but because this is a separate project, it would have to be potentially under their nonprofit entity, perhaps.
Correct.
I'm not sure. We'd have to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what I would recommend authorizing to allocate this money. Don't make a resolution at this point to actually, until we get some answers on that from the Fed. I mean, it's authorizing the funding, that makes sense, if that is clear.
Earmarking, yeah.
Earmark it right now, and for the next meeting, we can have clarity. Direction this can go, because if we can just cut them a check for the 50 grand to the library, it's to their nonprofit, just like we have other people, that would be the best way. But let me confirm that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to allocate $50,000 to this project from ARPA funding. Is there any wording we want to change on that before I ask for the vote?
I think we're good for now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we could say earmark instead of allocate, but I think that means the same thing.
Means the same thing.
Okay, Valerie, you were going something like that. Did you want to say something or? You all set? Okay.
Sneezing.
You're sneezing. All right, all those in favor of $50,000 of ARPA funding to the Lawrence Memorial Library outdoor classroom, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, guys.
Peace Garden renovations. TV is here. Is
I'm here.
long
Linda's
time
here.
original of that Peace Garden.
So
So-
I have this little, we're a little more low tech than the library. We're old school.
You're old
It's
school.
Definitely old school. I'm gonna sit up here with you
Sure.
guys, okay?
Do you need some help with that?
But I can tell you, nobody on the screen is gonna be able to see that unless you put it on the table. Yeah.
Just do a nice visual description.
Okay. Okay. So, first I want to say, thank you for being willing to consider this. And Valerie was the one that suggested that we come, and this is Linda Cormany, she's part of our committee too, to talk to you about the Peace Garden Restoration Project, really, it's called a restoration. And I brought brochures for everybody about the Bristol Peace Garden.
I got it. I got an electronic version. to save them.
And Valerie has a letter also that we wrote. And so The letter came because we are requesting donations from businesses in the area, and we thought, well, we'll write to the town of Bristol, and Valerie was the one that suggested, well, why don't you have this be considered under part of the ARPA funding? So I just want to give you a little bit of history about the Peace Garden. First of all, we estimate that probably over 100 families enjoy the Bristol Peace Garden every month on the green. And if you're there when there are a lot of kids and families there, you probably would see that there are lots of families that enjoy it. So we are embarking on a large restoration project, and I just want to tell you a little bit of history about the Peace Garden. Jessica, you probably don't know about this history, but Joel, I think you do. Michelle, maybe you do. Peter, maybe you do. I'm not really sure, but the Peace Garden was envisioned in 1987, started in 1987 by a group of students at Bristol Elementary School working with their teachers, Carol Heineken and Gail Martin, on a special project that they were doing. And it had to do with something called the Children's Art Exchange, where there was art coming from around the world to different host schools around the country, around the world. And so the kids wanted to do something to commemorate all these different cultures that were coming together. And so what they decided to do was they wanted to design a garden kind of based on a garden that was supposed to happen in Washington, D.C. I can hardly see you, Peter.
That's okay, I can see you too.
Okay. And they decided that they didn't want to contribute to this garden in Washington, D.C. They wanted a garden of their own. And so with a landscape architect, David Raphael from Panton, they designed this peace garden, and they called it the Peace Garden, with 7 segments, and the 7 segments represent the 7 continents. And what they wanted was they wanted a place where people could stroll, play, sit, chat, and kind of contemplate the interconnectedness of everybody across continents. And to this day, it's that kind of a place. If you see people at the Peace Garden, you see people sitting on the timbers, people bring their kids there. The kids are playing on the playground, the people are sitting in the Peace Garden chatting with each other. And so we have a lot of people that are very curious about the Peace Garden. Volunteers might be working in the Peace Garden, and somebody says, "What are you doing?" Or a kid says, "What are you doing?" And we have people that come up to us also and say, I was a kid that helped work in that garden when I was at Bristol Elementary School. So it's something that's been around. Joel, your kids worked in the garden. Peter, your kids worked in the garden. And so we have a group of 35 volunteers to maintain the garden. We have waterers, we call them continent stewards, people who take care of the weeds, sweepers. We have somebody who oversees the bricks and the stones. We have people who write personal notes of thank yous to our donors, and a coordinator with the town and Bristol Elementary School. Now, Bristol youth continue to have a stake in the Peace Garden. We have a group of 2nd graders. There's a 2nd grade teacher at Bristol Elementary who every year helps us plant bulbs, plant chrysanthemums in the fall, and the town of Bristol very generously supports the purchase of those plants every year. And right now, the Peace Garden looks absolutely gorgeous. We planted a lot of chrysanthemums in there. But what's happening now after 30+ years is that the timbers are starting to break down. And you can see that here. You can see these. And it's becoming kind of a safety hazard. People are catching clothing on the corner of the timbers. One of our committee members hit her shin on one of the timbers this summer and put a terrible gash in her leg. So we're very concerned about that. So we have a plan for this project. And we're working with Silas Clark. If you know Silas Clark, he's the person, and he's consulting with local timber experts. And we're focusing on locally sourced timbers through local sawmills. And we're excited that we're also going to be working with students from the Hannaford Career Center Construction Technology group. and hopefully with some local Eagle Scouts. We haven't quite confirmed that yet, but we're working on that. So we operate with a very small budget of $300 or less every year, and those $300 might buy new hoses or bulbs or things like that. And we have a wonderfully supportive community who people give us private donations. And we've been able to sustain the garden with that budget. The restoration project is a much larger endeavor. It's labor intensive and long-lasting timbers are pricey. And its estimated cost is $20,000. Now, we're not asking for $20,000 of ARPA funds. We are soliciting money from other businesses in town. Tomorrow night, we're going to appeal to the group 100 Women in Addison County. We're going to do a similar presentation there. But we're approaching local businesses for donations. And we have a presence at local events, and we're pursuing other grants also. So for the ARPA funds, I mean, I just heard the library request $40,000. We're not requesting that much. We're requesting $1,500 to help contribute to building these coffers that are growing from local businesses, and hopefully we'll get something from the 100 Women tomorrow night too. So the Peace Garden held its opening ceremony in 1991. And at that event, a very shy sixth grader who was asked by her teacher, Jim McGurn, the whole class was asked to write poems about this Peace Garden. And her poem was selected. And her comment recently as an adult, she said, "I remember thinking how beautiful it was and feeling it was just the thing to brighten the village green and give the community something to care for and enjoy together." So we want that joy and caring to continue for years to come. And, you know, across all our differences, the Peace Garden is a place where people can come together and just enjoy being together. So if you want to offer us more money, that would be great, but but you know, I sent this letter originally to Valerie asking for a similar donation that we were asking from other businesses in town. And at that point, we didn't really even realize that we could request a larger sum from ARPA funds. But we feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to raise this $20,000 and hoping that the town would contribute some of these ARPA funds to that. So
did your price go up because your letter originally said 17?
Yeah, it did go up.
Okay.
Yeah, it has gone up. Yeah. You know, that was an estimate, and Silas did a deeper estimate on that, and the timbers that we're going to use are going to be white oak, and those are the most expensive, but they're also the most sustainable. Yeah.
Okay. All righty, any
I was
questions?
wondering what you were using for timbers, because I don't have any white oak. I've got just about everything else, but I don't have any white oak.
And we think we can, Silas thinks he can get it from, you know, Clifford's might be able to get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's pursuing all of that. And he's been consulting with people like Will Wallace-Kusakov, who's, you know, a master builder with these kind of timbers.
Well, good. All right, any questions from the board?
And what was the total amount that you were requesting then from ARPA?
$1,500. And like I said, if you want to give us more, we'd be happy to take more.
What have you gotten so far, do you know? From people
So
who've committed?
far, we've gotten, so far right now, we have about $2,000. And we've approached, do we have 2,000?
Well, we know we have 1,000 in the bank.
We have no, we have 2,000 in the bank.
Okay.
We have 2,000 in the bank.
I'm gonna
And
tell
we-
you one, but I was gonna say might give him 10.
I mean, that's what I was going to say too.
I was gonna triple it, at least go to 5 or 6.
I was going to say
Or come
10.
back later when you don't have.
I mean, I want you to raise something. I want the other community members to be a
yeah.
part of it, but.
But also that's a lot of extra
We wrote-
work.
we-
A
I wrote
fundraiser
this
takes a
lot.
long time.
I talked to her, I did talk to her. Yeah.
And you're getting all the help from the other people to put it in, so.
Yeah.
Ian, what do you
I
think?
did. I'm in conversation with Cody.
I'd be
and
more
he-
curious if Porter had any feedback. She was the chair of that committee.
Yeah, Porter, go ahead.
I don't really have any specific feedback. We didn't have any projects that sounded like that. I think this probably would have had some appeal. I think certainly support it. And, you know, maybe wait and see how much they get tomorrow night. Because at that meeting, you know, it's a possibility of 10,000 or 2,500 that they're gonna get, and they're definitely gonna get one of those amounts. So,
Okay.
you know, so see how that does, and knowing that there is some ARPA money available, I think that would be fine. You know, I think there are still a couple things on your list that you might do, and there were also tier 2 recommendations that are possibilities, and if the select board is doing what is proposed and moving the money, then that releases some of the pressure of some of the deadline stuff, I think, so that might make it easier.
I do want to make a comment to what Michelle, what you said is that, you know, we are having a wide appeal to the community because the community, you know, the community are stakeholders in this. And I
Right.
do remember that a number of years ago, probably 20 years ago, the town of Bristol was ready to bulldoze the Peace Garden because Carol Heineken and Gail Martin had retired. And there wasn't anybody in the school that had picked it up. Do you remember that, Chris? Yeah, nobody had picked it up. And so by that time I had left Bristol and somebody came to me and said, you know, do you want this to continue? And so I said, yeah. And so I kind of, you know, we limped along for a while, but it's really, in the last 20 years, it's just really I can't say exploded, that's exaggerating, but the interest is much more than it was 20 years ago. We had 4 volunteers. It was in really bad disrepair, yeah. And we had 4 volunteers when we started to refurbish it 20 years ago, and we kind of limped along for a little while. And then our membership grew, and then the town became willing to support, or we approached the town to purchase the annuals in the fall and in the spring, and the chrysanthemums in the fall, and it just kind of grew from there. And yeah, the community has a great stake in it. We hear that from people over and over again, how much it means to them.
Yeah.
Well, also
Go ahead.
I was going to say also the continued connection with Bristol Elementary School, where school kids can go down and help weed and help plant, things like that. I think that's a terrific connection that continues to this day.
Yeah, and so we're very excited about that continued 2nd grade connection. And then now the connection with the Hannaford Career Center and maybe the Eagle Scouts, yeah.
Just a couple of things. I think since the new playground went up, that created
It's a sitting spot also for the mothers and the fathers.
Right, so they come back and forth, and it's really kind of fun to see.
Sit there, grab a book or something.
Yeah.
Read.
And the other thing I wanna say is that, people don't realize the educational value of the Peace Garden, and just talking to kids about what it means to plant a flower, and what is the, you know, why you have to have good soil, and whatever it is that they're learning, even not just the elementary school when they come as a classroom, but, you know, when little kids are there and they ask what you're doing when we're deadheading, you know, flowers, or, you know, weeding or whatever. So there's tremendous, I think, potential in terms of more educational opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's gotta be safe.
So it sounds like maybe the plan is for you to go to the meeting tomorrow and see what you get, and then should we ask them to come back and
Or let us know when we can make a decision.
Yeah, let us know.
Sure. Yep,
Right.
okay.
I think
Yeah,
the consensus is
we
there's
want to
support
support
here,
you,
so.
yes.
Okay, great, thank you so much, yeah.
Ian,
And
I'm gonna ask you, you support this, Ian?
I do, and I also have a couple of additional things that perhaps can be maybe worked into the project, and maybe ARPA money could support that. I know that the watering of the garden has been difficult because there's not really a spigot that's anywhere close by to the garden. There's one, but it's quite far away near the fountain. I'd like to see something that would maybe help the volunteers for the Peace Garden, a spigot that's perhaps put in more closely, and maybe we can tie into the water line that's on Park Street right there. And also too, another idea that I'd like to see, and maybe this is in conjunction with that, is a water fountain similar to the one that's over in the rec field over at the at the kids' playground. I think it's been a really valuable asset for kids to refill their water bottles. And I think perhaps we could tie those two things together, offering water availability for the Peace Garden, as well as having a water fountain on where the kids area is as part of the project, perhaps.
That's a good idea.
I wonder, yeah, can we tie, I wonder if we could tie that in with the water line replacement
Right.
at that time.
Yeah.
Which
Porter,
means
did
we
you have
would-
Well, I was just gonna say that the water fountain at the town green is actually one of the things on the tier 2 of list from the ARPA committee. So that was something, and one of the reasons we didn't actually put it on the first list is that Meredith McFarland had done all the work at the rec club to get the water fountain there, and said that, you know, she thought that she might be able to make that happen on the town green. So I know it's something that she shares your interest in, and I agree that would be a terrific addition. And that is literally on the list.
Okay,
Great,
all right.
thanks, Porter.
Thank you. So we're gonna hold off on a number tonight?
So I should, when we know about tomorrow night, I should let Valerie
I
know.
think within 2 weeks.
Yeah,
In the next
sure.
2 weeks, we're gonna
Okay.
go on, and then you can give us a number, you know, where you are at with fundraising so far.
Okay.
Great.
It-
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank
I'll
you.
give you 2 weeks to hear from the businesses
Yeah.
and other things.
Right, yeah, the businesses are kind of, yeah,
They're trickling.
yeah, it'll trickle in, definitely, yeah.
But we do want to support you.
Okay, thank you
Including-
very much,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for waiting through everything else. Okay.
It was a learning experience.
These are riveting meetings. Rec department position from part-time to full-time with ARPA funding request.
Taylor.
So I'm on in, the request is very much for the rec department, but because it's a holiday, Meredith was taking today off, so I'm here in her stead. So the request is, about it relates specifically to the employee that's currently at the hub, Jackie Stepanitis, who runs the Elder Eagle program that's been running successfully. So we, are interested in expanding her hours. She's currently has been working around 27 hours a week, and we'd like to expand her up to 32 hours to give her full benefits so that she's able to, and then also expand her Elder Eagle program. So she works 20 hours at the hub and then does around 7 hours a week with Elder Eagles, which is, if you guys are unfamiliar with it, it's a program that specifically targets the those of retirement age in Bristol. And every week, every Friday, they either do they do coffee and conversations, or she's been planning fantastic outings for them, and educational opportunities. And they've had like musicians come, and it's been very well attended and it's very appreciated. And providing services for a community that is historically really underserved in our community, but however, it's a really large portion of our community. So we are interested in expanding her hours. This is something that came up in talking with Chris and Sharon about Jackie, because we've been one of the things she's been bumping up against Beamers and in running the Elder Eagles. And so we are trying to figure out how to make it sustainable for her, improve her quality of life, and also expand this program that is serving a population in the community that the recreation department has struggled in creating sustainable programming for historically. And this has been really successful, and she's really done a phenomenal job at it. So we're asking, so now I don't know, I know in talking with Chris, there's like the snafu around how we shift the money like back and then move it forward. But we're figure that we discussed with Chris is $25,000 to pay for the position through 2026. And at that point, at the end of each year, we would do an assessment, and with the goal of increasing revenue throughout the program so that it would not become a taxpayer's responsibility of paying for it. And at 2026, like the additional funding would cease.
Okay. Anybody's comments?
No, I'm confused. So at the end of each year, you would determine if you should continue moving forward with it, and then you would get the support or the funds for that. How?
Yeah.
That's what I missed.
Yeah. So question. So At the end of each year, we're going to assess and determine how well the program is running. And I think our goal is to bring in some revenue by having, so if we can expand the program a little more and offer more opportunities, and there's possibility for small revenues from the program, right? We can offer a wine tour for the elders that want to participate because we have a van and we can take them on it, and we pay the vineyards, but also take a small portion of it. So there's an opportunity for us to increase revenue in small ways that way.
I think Valerie has a.
Go ahead, Valerie.
Just a question, does the $25,000 include benefits like health insurance and the town's contribution to VEMR's?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So it's all inclusive. I attended one of the Elder Eagles sessions, and it was really well attended. So there were lots of people there and really good conversation, and it seemed like a great way to build community for older people. It seemed like a really good program.
Okay. Michelle?
I haven't been to one. I mean, I think it's a good idea. My concern is that I don't want to increase, and I'm not big on using this money for salary because then we have to come up with the money later on, and that means the taxpayers and increasing the taxes. So that's my biggest concern.
Well, I just want to add, the reason they want to go to 32 hours is unfortunately, as far as VEMR's go, if you hit 24 hours a week,
you have to pay.
You have to pay. It's 24. Yeah. So you have to pay into VEMR's.
Right.
And that's a lot if you're just working 24 hours a week.
Right.
And she has bumped up against that. So they either need to keep it under 24 hours a week, or they
She's
need
at
to push
27
it.
right now, right? They said she's at
25.
Sometimes it's 27, sometimes it's 29, sometimes it's 17. It's all over the place, but it's not.
On average,
She's exceeding the.
You know, her existing schedule, what she's been working, she will exceed that if she continues at the rate they're going.
Right.
And the needs for her work.
So they either need to decide to keep her under that or push her up. If they push her up to where she's 32 hours and she's considered full-time, then yes, she gets the other benefits and, the 11.5% and the 875. Or, the 11.5% is a lot out of a person's paycheck. And if you're only making 24 hours because of the rule the state has for 24 hours instead of 32 hours when you're full-time, it makes a big difference.
It is at 32 hours, still 11% though.
It is,
11%.
but you're still gonna,
Right.
Okay,
Peter?
Right, if there's a need and she's filling a void, then I don't see a problem with it, but I'm with Michelle, we need to be careful not to end up adding it as a tax burden once the ARPA money's gone.
Right.
Ian?
And I'm not sure it's on
I'm gonna ask
Porter's
you
list,
next,
but.
So it's 12,500 a year, essentially,
Yep.
right? So,
Yep.
Can you make that up in revenue with the programs that you're doing? Essentially, if you're not going to add to the tax rate, you need to make 12,500 additionally a year to support that position. Can you do that? I mean, that could be a stipulation that we put on this particular request if we felt that was necessary, as so as not to add to the tax.
I mean, so the answer is I don't know if I can absolutely guarantee that, but if it's that if we can't make that up, then the position terminates after 2026, and I think that's what it is, right? So we have this expectation that we need to make that, but at this moment in time, I can't absolutely guarantee it because we don't have that money at the moment.
No.
Okay, hold on, Valerie. Jessica, did I get to you yet?
No, go to Valerie first.
Okay,
and then
Valerie.
then back to me.
Just a
Go
quick
ahead.
question. Are there grant funding opportunities for the program specifically? And I'm thinking through AARP or United Way or some other regional program.
So we've received several grant funds already. We received grant funds last year, 3,000, and we just received another 2,000. Through my looking at AARP, the grant funds that are currently available are fairly strict. And it's not really programmatic. They're not really interested in programmatic. It's a lot more increasing accessibility, which is hugely important. I think it is definitely in the sphere of things that should be grant funded, and at periods of time when it is trendy in the media, it'll be very well funded, as I've experienced with youth centers, which have recently become very trendy in the media. So we've gotten a substantial amount of grant funds. But at the moment, there is not a huge bounty of grant funds that we've found, and I've done a fair amount of looking, but we are continually looking. So, because I think it is a really worthwhile program, and I think it makes a lot of sense for grant funds to be dedicated to it, especially as we continue the conversation. In the state, we know that we are an aging population and how underserved those of retirement age and above retirement age are, similar to teens, right? They are an underserved and vulnerable community that are overlooked for a large part in our state.
And all I was going to say is that I agree with what Michelle's saying. Like, I don't like the idea of using this type of money for ongoing expenses. But I do think that this is a community where they do need more services. Like, a lot of the research that I've been seeing looks at this epidemic of loneliness for older people, and it has really bad consequences for their health and their overall longevity. And so I think that this is something worth investing in, but maybe what we could do is invest in it for this limited time period and then evaluate it and see, are there other sources of funding that we can get access to? Are these programs really well used, and we want to make that investment and ask the taxpayers to do that? So I don't think, just because we fund it for right now, I don't think we necessarily have to continue funding it. We could do it as sort of a trial period for a certain period of time and then evaluate it and see what we think. But I do think that it is a valuable program and a good service.
Okay. Taylor, first of all, thank you for the explanation earlier. The first roughly 27 hours you said, from that to 32 hours, the first 27 hours have been paid for through the budget, taxpayers, right?
Yes, the 20 of those hours are through the hub, and then 7 hours are through some programmatic funds, and then we've been using grant funds. So we have, but we don't have a ton of grant funds specifically for this program. We only received around 2,000, which gets eaten by stuff.
So my question is, we've approved a couple of things tonight with ARPA funding that are going to go away in another year or two, no more than two. The community resources officer, the grant writer, we not approved that tonight, but we approved that months ago, and it's coming paying dividends, paid by ARPA. And now this one paid by ARPA. I don't want to be like the school system was when they had all that ARPA fund or COVID money in 2020. And now everybody's taxes went through the roof this year because guess what? We didn't have any more COVID money, and those positions were started paying for them by the taxpayer. This one, I'd rather see it proposed in the budget for next year, the 5 extra hours, because I'm not sure 5 hours. I look at this as I got to work 1 more hour a day in my 5-day work week to get full health insurance. That's the way I look at it. I'm sorry to look at it that way, but right now we don't have to offer health insurance. And if we give her 5 more hours at $25, him or her, let's say we're paying $25 an hour. That's $100 a quarter a week, or so much a year. Maybe, what's that math? You do the math, it's $5,200, maybe $6,000 a year, but it's going to cost us 23,000 because we're gonna throw benefits in there. That's what bothers me. And I'd rather see it proposed in the rec department budget, and then we could say yay or nay at that time. I don't disagree with the program, it needs it, and I've heard a lot of good things about the elderly Eagle program. But I'd like to see it funded somewhere else and not through, because we're gonna keep these, I don't believe we're ever gonna get rid of an employee that we've kept on for ARPA funding at first. I don't believe we're gonna say, you're gonna have to go because your ARPA funding left you. Or I'm gonna say that to Frida with the planning commission or the grant writer or the community resources person. And, Eric didn't come to us and say, I'd like a 6-man for the winter time and pay it for ARPA funding. No.
He just didn't know he could do that.
Right, you know what I mean? I just don't agree with this right now at this time.
But
with ARPA
does
funding.
your solution need to, I could imagine a scenario where we approve short-term funding for the position so that then they can write this proposal in for the budget funding. But you're saying that she wouldn't be able to work those hours until that passed and they received that budget.
Well, if Meredith comes in and proposes her budget with maybe it's 32 hours and her budget is 6.5% increase, let's just say, I don't know what it's gonna be.
Right.
And we're gonna say, Meredith, you've gotta go back and where you're gonna cut out other things and get some revenue to pay for, so you can get it under 5 or something. I don't know what January is gonna bring us. Well, that's why we've seen it all in the school system right now. They got a lot of positions. Well, we need them now because they're paid for by government funding 2 years ago because of COVID money. And now everybody's screaming bloody murder because their taxes went through the roof. And education taxes went up average 13%. We didn't do that bad here in Bristol. But
It still was a shocker.
it still was a shocker.
But what you're describing will do that. So if they put it in the budget,
But the voters vote at that budget at town meeting, not us 5.
Right. Yeah, this would just be temporary, right?
So
Joel Porter has a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Porter.
Well, I was just gonna reiterate that the ARPA committee had this exact conversation, not about this program, but in general, and ultimately decided not to make any recommendations except the grant position because their expectation was the grant position would be self-sufficient. And we had a whole call out box in our report about the community resource specialist, which the committee felt was an extremely important and valuable role to have, and chose not to put that in our recommendation. I'm aware that ultimately that choice was made, but the committee said they didn't want to do that for exactly the reasons that you're talking about, Joel, is that they felt that it's a really needed position and the community needs to commit to it so that we can have that be a sustainable position in the long run. And so I will say on the one hand that the committee wrestled with the demographic allocation of the recommendations and would very much have liked to see more programming or more services for our elder residents. So I think that the spirit of this is very much in keeping with the ARPA recommendations, but the actual application of it for salary position would be problematic. And I don't think the committee would feel great about making that recommendation. So I know that's exactly where you all are. I just wanted to reiterate that and leave it back to you.
I mean, before we even start about when we start budget in December with Valerie and Eric and all the department heads, we're looking at probably roughly, I'm figuring around $200,000 started that we got to start paying for next year in 2 employees. When I add in benefits and salaries and all of it, community resource person plus the.
That'll be paid for the first year.
Right, but the following year we'll have to, that's what, 3%, 3 cents on the tax rate, Peter? About $70,000 a year we make 1 cent raises. I don't know exactly what that number is right now, maybe more.
30.
Yeah, well, that was on the village, I thought, but maybe it's 30, Peter.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from.
It was 26.
We're looking at tying our hands already with a 3 or 4 cent tax increase before Eric comes in and says, well, salt went up through the roof and paving went through the roof and oil's gone through and the fuel and all that.
And we need a bond for.
And we need a bond. That's where I'm coming with. I don't, Taylor, I'm not disagreeing with it. I think they're doing some wonderful things, but I'd like to see it. We got some things to make in 27 budgets, because we're only gonna pay for this through 26. Or 25 with the planner or the grant writer and the community specialist.
Speaking to that, Joel, one option that I would support would be potentially funding the grant writer position for another year with ARPA funds. That seems to be the biggest input of money coming to the town with the number of grants that we're getting, and that position could also support the potential grant writing application for the position that Taylor is speaking about.
I never thought of it that way, Ian, but that's a good thought. Okay, so what's your thoughts, people, on this last proposal from the rec department? And it's really not full-time either. It's part-time to 32 hours. I think
That's
full-time
considered full-time for
Yeah.
benefits.
32 is full-time.
for benefits.
Yeah.
I should say maybe from part-time
Well, all
to benefit
benefits.
position.
And
I
vacation.
mean, benefits are, if
time,
that's a family
yeah.
plan, that's $18,000-$20,000,
Mhm.
probably, right? Correct?
Somewhere around there.
Yep.
For
Yeah.
this person, it would never be a family plan. To be frank, it would never be a family. And so is there no wiggle, there's no room in, so, and so I completely understand, and I know this is something we've been aware of because we're not eager to increase the tax burden. However, it will, and so I suppose this is just then it's just on the department of us figuring it out. It will result in her reducing her hours significantly and potentially either ending the program or she'll be reducing her hours at the hub. Because she can't work really more than 20 hours is what it's been because of how it's been affected. Which is not your fault, really. It's the reality of the rec department and just kind of how we've been working on. So, and also for like full disclosure, we've been discussing with since there's been so much turnover with the treasurers, we've been bringing up beamers for this specific position for the three previous, so we've been bringing it up for the last several years because we've been bumping up against, and it's always been kicked down the road. So I also want to be clear, this has been something we've been trying to address for most years, but it's just been pushed until we had really until Chris and Sharon kind of got control of the treasurer's department. Do we finally get answers of okay, this is the progress, this is where we need to go. But we've been asking the questions about this for multiple years. So I also want to be clear that the issue that we're having now isn't due to we were trying to solve it for multiple years. And then we got here. But so is there any room for us to have some funding until we can get to the next budget season and it end at the end of
I would entertain a motion here. The board, we've all expressed, and they don't all have to agree with me or disagree or whatever. They can all disagree. I'm only one of 5. And, but I gotta have a motion on the floor to get a motion here to get this approved. So, sorry that didn't give you quite the answer, but.
Taylor, do you know the status of your budget currently? Do you have overhead at the moment? What are the current numbers for as of October 14th?
I don't think I understand your question.
Well, looking at what your budget has spent currently, you have wiggle room to move things around where perhaps you've had more revenue or more savings or money that you haven't spent currently in your budget.
I don't know. I don't know the current status of the overall recreation department's budget.
I think that's an unfair question for her. That's a Meredith question.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But I mean, I think that might potentially influence my decision on this. If I knew that a lot of extra revenue would come in this year, then perhaps that money could be put towards this position temporarily. I hesitate with if we've said no to this, then an ask coming back, is there anything you can give us? It needs to be a clear thing if we're delineating ARPA funds, and I think it's hard to adjust this on the fly and then make a decision.
Okay, so what's your pleasure, people? You wanna not vote tonight on this? You wanna hear from our department head of the rec department on Ian's question?
I think it would be helpful to know where they're at budget wise, if they're ahead or behind.
It would also be helpful just to know if we fund this temporarily through ARPA money, you know, what would the long range plan be? So just so that we would know what we're voting for, you know, is it sort of a short-term program that we're voting for, or is this something towards, you know, some sort of path for sustainability? Or is this something that we would need to build into the budget? I think that that would also be helpful just for what we're voting for.
Yeah.
Because right now we're having that debate, right? Short-term versus long-term. Is it a program versus like staff expenditure? So I think it would be it would be helpful if we could have a little more information.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, I mean, and you know, like I said, the question I have is, what's 5 hours more a week gonna get this person? Don't talk about the benefits, because you gotta pay those now. But what is you gonna get out of that 5 hour? Are you gonna work one more hour a day? Or am I gonna improve the program? Or work more? I gotta know that answer too. Because when you add 5 hours, it's not just $125 a week. If you're paying them 25, I'm basing it on $25 an hour wage.
Well, even if she just worked 27 hours a week, she still has to pay Beamers.
Right, but we don't have to pay benefits. We don't have to pay health benefits.
No, but you'd still have to pay
That's-
the Beamers part of it.
Correct,
And
you gotta
she
pay the
would pay
Beamers
her
part.
part, but you wouldn't get the other benefits, so.
Right.
I mean,
And so,
they could do that.
So what you're saying, Sharon, is you could continue to work the 27 hours,
She
but
just has to pay Beamer.
Beamers would have to come out.
Yeah,
And
And that's 11% of her
yeah.
paycheck.
And she would have to decide whether those 3 extra hours are worth what
right.
11.5% would be taken out.
Have her, yeah, or you'd have to raise her salary to offset that.
Yeah. And this person did not get a raise at July 1st.
I just did some quick math. People. If it was just the health benefits, it was 13.5, and you took the $125 an hour times 5 times a week, 5 hours a week, times 52 is $1,300. You add those two together, that 5 hours a week is costing us $55 an hour. That's where I'm coming from. Are we getting an hour? Are we getting that type of good work for that kind of money? That's where I'm coming from. Because once we go over that threshold, we gotta, even if it's a single plan, I took a single plan at
Single
14,000.
plan is just under $1,000 a month now.
There you go, 12,000, so that's what.
It pays 15% and.
About
the town pays
$50
the rest.
you're paying an hour for that 1 hour per. That's where I'm coming with that. So do we want to hold this off, people?
Well, the other thought is if we want this person to keep doing the 27 hours, we could opt to do a raise in the amount of what the Beamers were gonna come out, as opposed to making it a full-time position, and we wouldn't have to pay
We
benefits.
could do that too, bigger. I don't know what that number is.
Now we have to look and see what it is.
So,
But those are options of ways around this, Taylor.
And that
I mean,
would
I
be
think-
fine. Yeah, I'm, that sounds like a great option. I am, if we kept, Jackie's pay at the rate and then she had to start paying into Beamers, I think she would likely leave the job because it's unsustainable. It's a significant, like, you know, getting a sudden deduction of over 10% in your paycheck is brutal. So having the if we could contribute and offset that and give her a pay raise, because like Sharon said, she did not get one, then I think that would be a totally viable option. And strong
But
cap.
there again, I'm not, it's an idea, and I'm not saying that everybody supports it, but if we had the stuff to compare, I think it would make, it would be something we could consider.
Yeah, compare apples to oranges, yeah. Okay, well, Michelle, what do you think?
I'm not ready to vote on it right now.
No, but I'm saying we want more information.
Right. Right.
I'm not prepared to vote on it tonight. But if we can get the information for the next meeting, I think then we're educated and we know what the numbers are.
We are.
Well,
somewhat.
It's questionable.
More educated.
Jessica, got any more you want to say about?
No, I think getting more information would help make that clear.
Ian, how about you?
More information would be better, yes.
Okay, all right, Taylor, we didn't say no, we didn't say yes, so we're waiting for some more information.
That makes total sense. And I want to, like, as we continue to address the just last note on a lot of these programs that are working to provide services that don't currently exist for those that are underserved, there is an implicit cost that has to be like associated, like, because so we have this pandemic of loneliness that Jessica mentioned, and that's because of the underserved people in our community, because of the lack of resources and funding and services that don't exist, and therefore there's costs associated with creating those. And so I'm not saying that that necessarily has to be the town's burden to take that on, but just as we move forward and as we try to create a community that is thriving and serving everyone to the best of our abilities, there is cost in those spheres. And maybe CSAC is going to take that on, or who knows, but just as we continue to move forward, like I will make that pitch, because it's something I think about a lot in my work. So just as a reminder, and you guys are all trying to work to serve the community and create a thriving community, and cost to the taxpayers is a huge aspect of that as well. But just a last statement.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you, guys. I'll get more.
You better get that little one to bed. I hear him.
Yeah, we got a lot to do still tonight. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Taylor.
Well, start with that, and then moving on. Number 7. Water commissioners, put your water hat on, review and provide feedback on a letter to customers regarding the approved water rate and structural update from Chris Curley. Chris.
It is 9:30. Just FYI.
I'd like just maybe.
Do you have a
9
little
and-
ticking time bomb like at
9
10
and-
o'clock?
9 and 10.
9
and 10, maybe.
So this is pretty self-explanatory.
And I liked it.
The only
I read it.
the only thing I did notice right off was that it's actually the important notice. It's not a change in your water service and water rates.
Water rates, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm self-correcting. So other than that, I tried to keep it simple. I didn't want to overwhelm them with details. I wanted it to be one page, but there was absolutely no way to do it and still make it. I mean, I could have changed margins and that kind of stuff, but it was very unreadable.
Like really tiny print.
Yeah, no, I just wanted
But the
to.
most important stuff in the bill.
That's what I tried to do on the first page is, oh, your billing's changing and what it is and why.
But I thought the focus on equity in the billing structure, and also the fact that we have to make these investments over the long term, I thought that was a really clear explanation about why it's changing.
I thought the letter was good. My only question was, why didn't you put an example? I know you were trying to keep it short, but I think the example in the letter
Powerful, yeah.
would be better.
I
I just
do-
don't think
so-
people will look online. They'll
So I
just
do have-
start calling you and
Yeah,
saying,
so I do have at the
explain
bottom,
it.
at the bottom of page 2, there's enough room. I probably could add a table of some examples.
Yeah. I mean, that was my
Yeah.
only thought, was
If you're
like,
gonna have it,
they're
make it
not
2
gonna go.
pages, make it. Yeah, I
There
mean,
could probably be some that would do it, but.
I mean, and then basically that same table that I presented to you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll just cut and paste that in.
And you can just say, for example, here are some scenarios, but look online for more information.
Yeah, here, yeah, cool. Because if you're good with that, what we're hoping is we can stuff this with the water bills, next, end of this week, first try, whenever we get them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so when you change service on the important notice, you might want to change it on the first paragraph too, where you say updates about your water service.
Water rate, he just corrected.
Well, no, he did
Oh,
it.
he did it.
thank you. So yeah, if anyone sees any other changes in the next day or two, shoot them to me. If not, yeah, we're hoping to stuff this with the water bills.
Yeah, no, I think you did a
That
good
looks
job.
good, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
You've got in the, Chris, in
Yeah.
the first paragraph, you edited down the one that I sent you of this, and you've got information below and want to ensure you have all the information you need. Got a couple of double informations.
Oh, yeah. Why didn't you clean it up, send it out?
Yeah, I'll send it back out. I'll get it tomorrow. I'll make,
Everybody get
go to
it.
the first paragraph that looks like it needs
24 hours.
Yep, I'll get it to you
I
tomorrow.
know, we'll try to get our comments, people get our comments back within 24 hours.
I'll get it.
Okay,
Sounds good.
Michelle, you take that one, number 8.
Water Commission, tentative, says tentative. Okay, tentative, we're not doing it then. Consider water distribution line and water line connections permit application for the T&M Bouvier residential subdivision at 68 Pine Street. Online are the most current water connection plans for the residential subdivision. Preliminary approval was granted on July 20, was it really July 22nd?
Yeah, because
Didn't you guys do something when I was gone in September?
they did in September, they did the tap after they ground the road.
Okay.
Peter and Jill did the tap, the first 29 feet to a 2-inch curb stop or valve box. And then I'd like permission to do the rest of the 4 lots now, before the winter sets in. I sent this in, Valerie, or it's somewhere in this iCard in this building. I sent this in, it was dated June or July 30th. But I sent it again to Jill and Valerie today.
That's your application?
Our application, yes.
We received,
I emailed it around to the select board along with the recommendations from Jill and Steve this afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, so I looked at your email, Val. My one question I had was, doesn't there need, if we're taking over the water lines, don't we need an easement deed?
Correct.
Because that's not in the requirements.
It's in there somewhere.
oh, it's in there. It's down towards the bottom. I don't see it in the TA report. I think it's in the email that was sent out though.
Yeah, in the email, the TA report.
Yeah, you're freezing.
You're freezing, Mallory.
Oh,
I don't know.
Out of it.
okay.
You want to bring it up on your screen and that way they can see the conditions of the approval.
I don't think I can if somebody else has the email. My internet's.
I
not
can do it.
working.
Hang on.
Yeah, because I don't think I have it.
You have the list there. Michelle, your question at July's meeting was Kevin had the curb stops outside the utility and he put them back
Yeah,
into the
that's fine.
utility.
That was before they paved Pine Street. They had.
No,
that.
no, no. The curb stops for each lot were outside that 50-foot
Oh, okay.
utility on the map.
Oh,
and he's
there, I
put 'em
see
all
it,
back
number
in.
9.
Okay. Okay.
Kevin Brown told me the other night, the DRB hearing that it's gonna be the same document that he did for J Drive.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get that memo. Okay.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's got the same requirements, meaning that the line itself, the materials, the workmanship, all of it has to meet the requirements of the water system to be taken over by the water system. The easements need to be in place, proper communication so that all basically inspections can occur. And just making sure that part of that is also the pressure testing and the back T testing and everything else, because it's not just a service line, it's a water main. And also just making sure that the Water Commission as a whole is agreeing to take it over as a town water line.
Everything is copper, K copper. Jill has looked it all over. And
I
every
have
tree-
actually looked at the materials in person. They're all
Well, Jill,
acceptable.
let me ask you, do you want to take it over?
I think it's fine. I've voiced to you guys in the past over the last year of, painful events that have occurred with other private water lines, and continue to have the strong suggestion that anytime that there's a water main being built, a distribution line being built, if it's in the interest of the customer and serving them in a nice small area and would be easy for the water system to take over, we should, so that they don't end up difficult later for the landowners and the water system users.
Yeah, and hopefully we get 100 or so years or more out of it.
We won't be here, guys. That's the goal. That will help the people after us, not
That's right.
just
Any questions,
despise
any
us.
comments? Questions, comments? Somebody want to make a motion? You're gonna make me make the motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation.
Approve the water line plans
Approve
with the
water line
recommendations.
plans. Yeah, sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me.
Pinker, you want to second it?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in
You're
favor?
making Jill squirm there.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried and,
Staying, me.
yeah, well, you're already out, you're already
Thank you for
out.
hanging out, Jill, for that.
I know. My goodness, those were pretty deep. All right, I'll leave you be.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you.
Night.
Your season starts.
I ain't going nowhere, I can't.
Okay. Do you wanna, due to the length of time, and Jessica's looking at me, 10 o'clock's coming here. Do we want to, put 9 and 10 on the first meeting agenda next 2 weeks? Or we all
We
don't
wanna have a special meeting.
really wanna have a special meeting? Review the job description.
I would very much support that. I think it needs to be a bigger discussion. I mean, I'm not in any state to discuss it tonight by now.
Yeah.
And the second one too. So I'm okay. I mean, if I'm better by next week to do a special meeting, I do think it's a big discussion to have. And I'd like to involve more than just the board members in, because it pertains to who will be working with this person, going forward. So I'd love to be able to bump that.
So you wanna do it in 2 weeks, or do you wanna do a special meeting next Monday?
I think a special meeting, because I don't see our agendas getting any lighter.
No.
And if you
No.
wanna spend time on this, I'd rather get out of here at 8:30, 9 o'clock for 2 meetings in a row as opposed to stay here until, cause I
11.
start getting punchy
Yeah,
around.
if we start this tonight, we won't be out of here till 11.
No, this is
No.
not happening.
So, okay. I would-
Well, you wait till we do budgets, man. You are in for a ride.
You better bring some coffee.
I like budgets. I'm okay.
So,
with that.
I guess, why don't we get everybody review these 9 and 10, the job descriptions for both of those. And come with your questions and highlights and everything for next Monday at 7? Or do you wanna do 6?
I like doing earlier so we can get out.
I do
earlier.
6.
But is it,
6.
hard- Michelle, is it hard for you to get here by
No,
then?
just come out for work.
I can do 6 if I'm alive.
Okay,
Would 6:30 be better?
No.
6:30, so you can hang around long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bigger 6 o'clock work next Monday?
We were
Valerie's,
talking, this is the 21st, right?
or
It'll be
I
the
guess I'm gonna
21st,
ask the
yeah.
question, no offense, Valerie, do we want this without the town administrator?
I think the input
The input from her?
Yeah,
for,
Yeah.
we
for
need
her,
her.
for both jobs.
Yeah.
For both jobs, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a secret what we're talking about. and
No,
she-
no,
she
not by
has
no
the-
means.
She has the insight of the job, so.
Right. And maybe an email to all department heads, hearing their comments? Could we, or do we wanna do that later? What do they?
Oh, I think that'd be good. I've spoken with a few people just when I was in the office like a couple weeks ago, just to get sort of feedback and get ideas. But I think that would be great. I think it's nice to be able to involve the staff in this. And again, it's just suggestions from the staff. We don't have to take any of the suggestions and
Well-
apply them, but I think it's just nice to have feedback from everyone to see what this job is going to become in the next few years. I think Valerie has sort of changed it a lot from what it originally was because of her skill set. And so we need to sort of see where it goes now. She's
So you
got
want-
some big boots to fill.
Do we want those emails to come to me? Everybody, department heads or staff, you know, what they would like to see in a planning commission and zoning administrator's job description, or the other, or the town administrator, come to me.
Why can't they go to Valerie?
I was just, I don't know why they couldn't. Some people may not feel comfortable.
Okay.
Well, that we can
They
say.
can say, they can either send a
Valerie
Val or you.
You can send them to Val or me.
Yeah,
I'm not, some people may not be comfortable.
yeah.
Saying what
It's
they
good to
want to
give them
say.
an option, yeah.
Okay?
Come in person too, correct?
Rich, you
Yes,
can come in
everyone.
person too. You sure, Sharon, you can come in person, so,
We would miss
okay,
you if you
so,
weren't here.
Valerie, you put out a thing next week, agenda. For going over, no payables, no select board roundtable, no accounts payable through warrants, just these two items on the
Well,
agenda.
there may be something come up that we wanna discuss if it, I just,
No, just.
You can just put, you can put on there and any other business.
Any other business? Yeah,
Okay.
okay, is that okay with you, Valerie? Thumbs up, get you to bed
I mean,
early?
if some of this stuff goes, if they happen to go quick and we can knock a couple other things off so it doesn't end up on
On
another.
the next meeting, where we're here till 11, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, number 11, review of meeting minutes. We got August 12th, September 9th, and September 23rd.
I only reviewed September 9th.
Okay, I didn't review any of them because,
I'll do the other twos later.
Yeah, I only glanced at them, but you do a better job of reading them more closely.
okay, it sounds like we want to put all three of them on,
No, I'll
Valerie?
make a motion to approve September 9th with whatever, with a few minor changes that I gave Val.
Okay,
A second.
there's a motion to second to accept September 9th meeting minutes. Any other corrections? Ian, you got any say for those?
I did not have an opportunity to look at those.
Okay, so Peter, you all set with those?
Yep.
I'm sorry for that if you've read them, Michelle, you do a great job at that. All those in favor of accepting the minutes for September 9th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain, okay. Review, accounts payable warrant and any liquor or tobacco licenses. Any liquor?
It was a light warrant.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the warrant is $885,334.93.
Most of it's you.
Oh, that department.
Oh, you got more coming too.
Oh, no.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah, most of them,
Okay,
all of
no
it was
liquor or
pretty much
tobacco?
him.
No liquor or tobacco, so.
No
what was-
liquor or tobacco.
Well, we just signed it, so there, Ian, you'll have to come in and sign. Select board roundtable,
Well, I
Jessica?
have at least three of you signed, so if
Yeah.
it doesn't make it, that's fine.
and four signed tonight, so.
Four signed it.
Jessica, anything for select board roundtable?
No, I don't think so. There's some things that maybe I'll have for you guys in the next meeting, but
Oh, no.
just a one sentence update, that's all I'll give you.
Ian, you?
Sorry. I continue to sort of work on the project management thing. I've shared it with a few people. And also trying to set up a meeting at the library to discuss the library grant. And because I've been sick this week, I've been unable to do that. But I'm hoping to do that next week.
Okay, is that it for you?
Yes, thank you.
Michelle?
Yeah, I'm good.
Peter? I got a couple, three things. I'd like to see Eric possibly budget, you know, the doghouse we have, we call it the doghouse, they do the do not turn on the North Street, as you're looking at the traffic light. It's up there as the action, when people are walking. I'd like to see us really put one on every section of that corner. I saw somebody almost get hit when I was on North Street, and they were coming off from the park, and somebody was over by the cover side of Main Street, and they turned right, and they almost, you know, and
I thought there were.
no, there's only one.
There's only one lit up.
There's only one,
Oh,
cause
one.
there's
And they
only,
don't pay attention to
Be-
that one.
No, I know.
because there's only one right-hand turn lane, that's why.
Right.
Right,
So-
but,
there's only-
but you can turn right on red on Main Street or.
Well, you could post it that way too, is no right turn on red.
Well, they have them up there that says no turn.
When it's lit up. that-
No,
No.
no, well, that one does say
Right,
that.
right.
But the all other corners say, you sign up at yield to pedestrians in crosswalk.
Okay, or at least
They're
go by,
already
I'd
up
like
there.
to see that.
They are up there.
They are up
Yeah.
there. Yeah, they're up on the post.
Yeah.
But,
For
you
each
know, I
other
just,
side.
You
People
can't
just
do,
don't see
you
them.
can't do no turn on red, because the way the light is set up is
That's
if
right.
people are taking that right-hand turn on red off of North Street, the light doesn't change, it stays green. The reason for that was so it would stay green on Main Street.
right,
But people still do stupid things.
but this was lit, the doghouse was lit, but they didn't see a doghouse lit, so they turned on right on red.
Right,
And I've seen it a couple of times.
right. But they also brought in, the sides of the sidewalk so that people shouldn't be able to go out and around. And I've seen people drive over it.
And then Eric, I can't, Mr. Frost or Mother Nature's gonna take care of them here in another day or another week or two. But the sunflowers on the corner of Maple and West Street, right between the sidewalk and, I mean, they're right on the curb. Somebody on a bicyclist was coming down West Street and I was on Maple and I was turning right. I stopped and he was right beside, he had yellow on and I didn't see him, you know.
Right there by Cecil's?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll have to
that's
be cutting those.
That's
Yeah.
okay. I saw somebody turn the corner the other and run over him the other day.
Good, good. And then I have a library question that came to me is, why aren't we flying the United States flag outside anymore?
I haven't even noticed that there's a flagpole there. Is there a flagpole?
Somebody asked me that
There's a
yesterday.
flagpole by the library?
I think it's on the porch.
Hangs on the side of the building.
Oh, from the, okay,
We got
okay.
$500,000 from the US government. We probably ought to fly the flag.
I can definitely ask about that. That whole area is supposed to be redone. So they had cones up and stuff, so I don't know if it was like.
Okay,
you
I
know,
just
part of
asked
that.
that question. So
But I can
I was
ask.
asked yesterday
By your brother-in-law.
Nope, was it?
Oh,
No,
was it?
No, brother-in-law.
That's who I would have expected.
No. No relation. Other business, any other, wait a minute, town administrators report before I get to other business?
I pass.
Pass. I don't blame you.
You pass?
Yeah.
Okay, you had a great report in your TA report, so thank you, Valerie. Other business, any correspondence reports or anything for us received? Any other business?
No, that's not listed.
Okay. It says executive session tentative here, anything, yes or no? It was just on there,
Standing item.
standing item. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ian, aye?
Yes.
And you're
Yes,
gonna,
yes,
Ian,
yes.
you're gonna take care of the
Okay,
recording, right?
we're adjourned.
Wait, what recording?
9:52.
You're gonna take care of the
See you later.
recording, stop the
Check that
recording?
weather
or-
for
Oh,
us.
yeah, it's fine. And I have the list of people. I don't know who I sent that to. Maybe I'll just put that in,
We just paid
Should send that to you.
$50,000 a year.
Val, do you wanna
Yeah.
give them what's her face's email, so she'll have it? Cause I'll put the list of people that were here in Val's office, that's usually what I do.
okay, I can just send it to Val. Val, I just recorded the people who were on Zoom as best I could.
Yeah, okay.
I took
Thank
note of
you.
everything.
I hope you both feel better.
I do too.
God, I hope so too.
Good
Yeah, feel
night.
better, Val.
Night.
Good night.
Yeah,
See you
when I
later.
actually go out and check roads in the winter,